It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on this Tuesday, November 26th. Good morning. It is the week of Thanksgiving, and we've got a whole lot to cover for you. Joining us in just a minute is going to be Peter Boyles. You know that name. He does his famous Thanksgiving Day parade on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. It's
the imaginary parade. Yes. As yesterday he hinted, there will be the Venezuelan bands.
Yep. And again, this is just a chance to lean into your personal political views, creativity, sarcasm, and entertainment. There are no sacred cows. The only thing is we got to abide by FCC rules. So no naughty words. Other than that, go at it.
And my big question, what does Kamala Harris do in the parade?
Exactly. There are going to be all sorts of things. Yeah, there's some stuff. I have got a really busy day today, and I'm a little worried that I won't have some time to do some creative brainstorming this afternoon. I would like to get some time to do it, but that may not be in the cards. So we'll have to see. I'm going to try to work in some...
You just rely upon the great listeners of 710K and US to do that for
you. But you got to, there's some setups. There's some things that you want to be doing with some things there. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. Yeah, but I'm hoping everybody's getting their floats ready and getting ready to join us on Wednesday. It'll be fun.
Pete's going to be joining us in just a second. And then, holy cow, Bill, you'd think 2 days before Thanksgiving, following a major presidential election, we may have fewer things to talk about, but not in this case.
Wow.
Everything from Trump's tariffs to... the Jack Smith case to this headline yesterday from CBS 4 that made my X account explode.
Oh, I want to hear about that one.
This was one of those mind-numbingly stupid headlines from the mainstream media that everybody, including George Brockler, was like, wait, what? And as of this morning, 48,000 views, all because of a headline written by Channel 4.
Yeah. And it was somewhat incorrect, but we'll get into that. Yeah.
Only in the sense that visiting France would make me a Frenchman.
Yeah.
So
yep. Yeah.
Oh, boy, we've got a lot to talk about today, so you're not going to want to miss it. Phone lines are open. Feel free to join the conversation. We'd love to have you, especially if you're out and about, traveling, heading to the airport. Give us a little insight. I'd love to hear anyone standing in line at the airport. What's going on over at DIA? Give us a little insight into what the travel holiday season's like. Phone lines are open, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Yesterday, Robin Carnes traveling gave us a call.
That was
said
cool.
She couldn't turn the radio off. It was so compelling.
That was great. Either that or she just didn't want to listen to her kids' music, which, again, we are a good alternative. You don't want to listen to the kids' music, so that's fine, too. We accept those listeners as well. We love you.
Absolutely. Let's first check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good to see your smiling faces this morning. Nice jersey there.
Yeah. So, Bill or
Prime.
Blake, here
Yes.
I was hearing all these rumors that Shador Sanders.
Yeah, Shador
Sanders
yeah.
could likely be heading to the Dallas Cowboys, and that they may be looking for a new head coach. And so I got to enjoy my CU Buffs prime time while I can.
I agree with you. Actually, I think that may actually work. I mean, I think Deion Sanders would be perfect in the NFL because he'll have every coordinator around him.
Yeah.
Jerry loves him. He loves Jerry. Jerry can do his circus. It won't bother Deion. Deion can do what he needs to do. They allow everything. And Shador, I mean, he could definitely develop into a great NFL quarterback, I would imagine. So nothing would surprise me. So I think that's smart that you're wearing it right now.
I'm enjoying it while I can. So a few weeks ago, I got a chance to go to a game, and it was due to the kindness of a certain trustee. And so I got to visit the trustee suite up there at CU, which was amazing. Right. And then we've been friends for years. This was Frank McNulty. And then Frank took me over to meet the prez, and I just told the prez of CU how much I appreciate what Deion Sanders has done for the CU football program. And as a guy of faith, I just love the fact he talks about Jesus all the time, and the libs can't do a single darn thing about it.
That's the greatest part of it. I agree.
That's part of it.
If it's another coach, they're going to fire him. They're going to run him out of Boulder.
If it was me, I mean,
if it was you, forget about it. You're done.
Yep. I wouldn't even get the nod. There would be massive protests, but up there,
absolutely untouchable, man.
That's exactly right.
No, you're right.
And so I told the press how much I appreciated it. Just maybe hire some more Jesus freaks. It helps the program.
Hey, let's get it started. Let's just make the University of Colorado a Christian university.
There you go. There you go.
Let's do an entire segment on that. That'd be great. I love it. Right in Boulder, smack dab in the middle of Boulder. I love it.
And while I was up there in the suite, I was going around talking to people and saying hi, and met a fine professor. We had a great conversation, and she was one of the lead professors of the LGBTQ department.
Really?
But we had a fine conversation. We talked about animals and her dogs, my dogs, and all that stuff. See, football brings people together.
Yes, it does.
Actually, more than that, winning brings people together. When you have a winning program, brings people together.
That is the truth. It doesn't matter your sexual orientation at all. 27 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Yeah, absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail.
The man picked to lead border enforcement efforts by DJT will be in South Texas today. Border czar Tom Homan is set to meet with Republican Governor Greg Abbott and other lawmakers in Eagle Pass to start the discussions of the border situation. Last night, he was on Fox, as you just heard, talking about the Denver mayor, Mike Johnston.
Because there's a statute. It's Title 8, United States Code 1324, III. And what it says is, it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear, we want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
And 9 News interviewed the mayor, and he's backpedaling a little.
Are you open to sending Denver police officers to the county line to stop federal forces or National Guardsmen from other states from coming into Denver?
We have no plan to do that. And we really hope that we don't ever have to do that. I think
no plan, but are you open to it?
What we're going to do right now is, it's hard to keep an eye on what the future president actually plans to do and what the proposal actually is.
It sounds to me like you're walking back the comments from a couple days ago saying that you would be willing to send Denver police officers. Do you regret making those comments and now getting questions like this?
Would I have taken it back if I could? Yes, I probably wouldn't have used that image because that's an image I hope we can avoid. What I was trying to say is this is an outcome I hope we can avoid in this country. I think none of us want that.
Hope, just don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Now, was he talking about hope? We don't have to do that.
Now, Blake, there's an alternative video of that interview.
I put that on X. Right?
So, I put it on X if you want to go see it. That's because there was a certain employee from Channel 9 who's very angry that people were clipping that interview and uploading it onto X and taking, the credit. He thought that only apparently Channel 9 should be able to upload their videos, and then everybody would retweet those as opposed to clipping them and putting them up there. So,
okay, I see. So clipping means editing in my world. Okay, so they edited it.
Well, they just took a small portion of it,
gotcha,
and they put it up there.
Yeah, and they said 9 News, right?
9 News, and it has the next thing there, so they get all the attribution, all the credit, all that stuff. He just doesn't like the fact that other people, post clips of
stuff. Great thing for 9 News.
Right. Exactly. Right? So he and I went back and forth all day because
is that what you were doing?
Yeah.
Okay,
so
now it makes sense.
He wants Channel 9 to get the money from anybody that posts clips of Channel 9's content. And I just reminded him that Channel 9 likes to post clips of our show all the time. And he can DM me to send me the check from all the money Channel 9 gets when I interview people like Dave Williams, but then he kept going. So then I took that little audio you did right there.
Right.
And I changed everyone's voices to cartoon characters and then added pirate hats and big mustaches to everybody.
That was well done, man.
So
You did
just
that.
to troll Channel 9 and their stupid little frustration over the fact that people clip their content and share it around.
Yeah.
And it just goes, if you're a content creator, especially in the news, right? You're not making music. Right. I'm not creating a movie. I'm interviewing somebody of public prominence, and then I'm putting that clip up online.
Yeah.
And if people share it, that means that the news I'm creating goes further and further and further and further, which is what you want. So
yeah, that's a good.
So if anybody wants to go hear those two people talk with cartoon voices, pirate hats, and big mustaches, it's on my X account.
Hey, I will say this now, away from a great interview, awesome sound bites, all that, they did a great job. Also, I looked at it, 9, the photojournalists at 9, they're the greatest, but they make things look really, really good. That set. I guess it's his office.
Right.
I don't know. It's well lit. It's 3-camera shoot. Looks beautiful. And what I thought was, wow, Kamala Khan spent $100,000 on that lame set, right? And then those guys at 9 went in there, and they made that thing look so good. It is beautiful, lit colors. A great interview and great set, man. Get it out there, put it on social media. Nice job.
Well, it's
Jeff,
news, and people are talking about it. And the interview that you scored is now viral.
9 News.
Right, and it's and you got the little next. No one's taking out the little next. Thing on the side. So now maybe people are watching it more. I don't know.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Hey, great job. I like the mustache. The mustache is
the
great.
Mustache on
You're
Mike
doing
Johnston.
a great job on X, by the way.
We're having fun.
Now that football's over, I'm gonna try to help you out on X if I can.
There you go.
I just don't. Man, it takes so much time. All right, good job though, Jeff. DJT's federal election interference case is being officially dismissed. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a motion to drop the felony charges connected with Trump's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election, and a judge agreed Monday. Smith said the charges had to be dismissed before Trump takes office in January because of a Justice Department policy that sitting presidents won't be prosecuted. Smith filed a similar motion to drop all charges for Trump's alleged efforts to illegally store classified documents at his Florida home. But that is still being reviewed. A judge dismissed the charges in that case earlier this year, and Smith on Monday dropped his appeal of that decision. A federal judge in Denver says a San Jose State volleyball player can play in the upcoming women's conference tournament despite allegations that she is transgender. U.S. District Court Judge S. Cato Cruz allowed the player, who's been part of the team all season, to compete in the Mountain West Conference tournament in Vegas. The decision follows a lawsuit from 9 players challenging the conference's rules that allowed transgender athletes to play, arguing it could be unsafe and unfair. Neither San Jose State nor the teams that might forfeit have confirmed whether the player is transgender. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Scott Jennings outstanding on CNN last night. The lefties, they do not want free speech. They don't want it. And their moral authority here, the journalists.
That happens on X. Please don't give me the eyebrow furrow as if you don't know what I'm talking about. It happens often on X. I can go and say the color is blue, and I will be met with so many disrespectful remarks. No one's regulating the N-word. No one's regulating the criticism. No one is regulating how people are treated.
How much government regulation of the First Amendment are you for?
Let me tell you something. If I came on here and I just started calling you all kind of names, do you think the bosses would let me continue to do that?
I mean, it happens.
I mean, mean,
Yes.
Occasionally, I don't know if you
well,
watch
it
the
doesn't
show.
happen to you, but it doesn't happen
does
for me.
happen.
And I know that I wouldn't be able to do that. There's a level of professionalism in what we do here because we are journalists and we adhere to something at least morally.
yeah.
And there is no moral compass
Oh
on
my
this
God.
thing called.
Can you believe that?
That
They
is
are
great
the moral
audio.
authority. Isn't that great? And
I mean-
Jennings was awesome. I mean, she just said she doesn't want free speech, and they're the moral authority.
So yeah, exactly. That is a great point, Blake. And this is what I've said, probably what happened in journalism school for the last 2 decades. And look, I don't have a degree, so I don't from journalism school, so I don't know what happened there. But this is what I'm guessing happened is that these professors told all these little minds full of skulls full of mush that you have tremendous power. And in your
Yes.
tremendous power as
No
journalists,
doubt.
you must make the world a better place. And so they all ran out from journalism school. They all look like Kyle Clark and this Chris guy from Channel 9. And it's, we're going to change the world. Don't just watch, engage. And they tried to drive an agenda through the media. Nobody likes the agenda they're trying to drive because it's so dang progressive. And now nobody trusts them anymore. Nobody cares who they are. They don't listen to them. And they're having mental breakdowns on media for the whole world to see, like the clip you just played there.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to disagree. I completely and totally disagree because the point and I went through journalism school, not within the last 20 years, but I went through it. And I have friends that have gone through it since then. And that is a assumption without much backing. There are pieces out there in which you do get that advocacy journalism, but the vast majority of journalism schools are solid. The vast majority of journalism. Yep. And you know what it is?
But how I look at all the products
I
that they're
will
putting
tell
out there and they're all
Yep.
agenda driven.
No.
Yes.
Hang on. Wait, hold on. Here's the idea. You're pointing at the wrong cause of this happening. I'm not saying it's not happening, but the issue is your cause is wrong. You're pointing back at the schools. And understand why, because the schools are assumed to be this platform of liberalization and DEI and wokeness and the mind indoctrination. That's not where it's happening. It's happening at the media platforms themselves. That's where it's happening. And here's why. Later in the morning on the show here and Fox and Friends, it's running here on the curvy couch, they set up a bunch of people who are reporters and ask them their opinions about the news. They do it on CNN, they do it on NBC, and now the reporters are given a voice through social media. The reporters that used to be the silent observers are now asked about their opinion and give their voice all the time. It is our society, it is our social media, and it is the media outlets that have created this because they started asking their opinion. 20 years ago, we didn't ask the reporter's opinion about things. You go back 30, 40 years ago, nobody asked Woodward and Bernstein their opinion about Watergate. They asked them what happened. That's the change. We as a society inside of our media and inside of social realms have started to ask our reporters to give their voice. Fox News has an entire show focused around putting reporters on a couch and asking them their opinion. We didn't do
you
that
think,
before.
though, that with all the press back that's happening now and the fact that trust among journalists is near record lows, if not at record lows, that these media rooms that are creating these problems are going to change?
No, not in the least.
You don't think so?
Nope,
you don't
not in the
think they're
least.
like, gosh, nobody cares what we think anymore? Maybe we
Nope.
should just go back to news?
No, because I honestly don't believe they see that as a problem. That's how it functions. And again, the reporters are given voice even individually through social media. That's where this went sideways. It's not the schools. It has to do with the journalism and what happens inside the the professional environment itself, because we started asking our reporters for their opinion. And so now the reporters believe their opinion is important. And if your opinion as a reporter is viewed so important, you're interviewed on other media outlets about it, why would you not then start skewing your news that way? Why would you not put voice into that?
However, the professors and instructors and people in the newsrooms, studies show and the polls show that 95% of them are Democratic voters. They're on the left. So and the college newspapers, they all you have to do is sit down and read them if they still print them, and I'm sure
they
they're
do.
bent left. But I mean, I was lucky.
Their opinion pages are, but their regular news coverage not necessarily is. And sometimes, sometimes that's that's part of what is taught inside of there. And here's the idea: is discounting and saying because someone holds a set of political beliefs and they're in the media. I disagree with your premise that that person has the inability to remove their political bias. This is an assumption y'all are making, that because someone may have a set of political beliefs, and everyone does have them, that they can't correct outside of them. We had it for years. It's not as if reporters just became Republican or Democrat. Walter Cronkite had a political party. It's not as if it just happened. This isn't something new that all of a sudden people sitting around have a political opinion.
I've got 2 words for you. Chuck Plunkett. Chuck Plunkett was the editorial director over at the Denver Post, and he would write these hack pieces about Donald Trump and about me all the time. It was frustrating. I remember one time I gave him an interview. He had already written the piece. He just stuck my name into it. It was pure hack journalism. He is now the director of the CU News Corps. Training the next generation of journalists at CU Boulder.
Yeah, but what was his job at the Denver Post again? Remind me.
But he's the editorial director. Now he's the director of CU News Corps.
What is the role of the editorial director inside the newspaper?
At the Denver Post? To write hack liberal pieces.
But what section is he responsible for?
He was the editorial director.
And what section is that in the paper?
Well, that's the editorial.
It's the, but wait, hang on.
But now my point being, he's now the director of the program at CU.
Hold on. It's the opinion section, not the news section.
I'm not talking about when he was at the Denver Post. I'm talking about what he's doing now.
I know, but see here, you're proving my point. That's the issue. That's why we're walking down my point. No, I'm not. And we'll walk down this road. Watch
Pete's
this.
Sitting here going, why am I on hold?
Yeah, he's like, why am I on hold? You got to talk about the Thanksgiving Day thing. Let me walk this down. He was the editorial editor, and that is the opinion section. That is the one section inside that newsroom in which you were allowed to give opinions. And that's what he did.
And what's he doing now?
Hang on a sec. But do you have any indication that when he went to the CU journalism that he's doing editorials? He's not in charge of the editorials. This is the issue. If someone's the editorial editor and moves into the newsroom editor, you don't assume that person is going to bring in there and say, all of you guys are going to do your opinions now.
And you think that these guys can create these little firewalls, and I think that's a big assumption as well.
Here's the idea. That's what you do in school with journalists. That's the problem. Hugh Hewitt earlier today talked about and pushed back on the idea that anybody that has an X account or anybody that has social media now becomes a reporter. No. Part of what you're training when you're going through school is to understand how to course correct for your biases and your predetermined conclusions. That's part of it. Until you can show me,
that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean,
but that is not. I know, because let's close the circle. Because inside of the ecosystem, inside the profession right now, we ask them for their opinions. That's not taught at school. It is taught when they are in the profession, because Fox News does a show about it, MSNBC does a show with it, CNN does a show with it. Everybody asks their reporters their opinions. That's why it has gone this way. Stop blaming the schools. It is the industry itself. It doesn't mean you're not correct on the bias. It just means your causation is incorrect. And you guys should be taking aim at the industry. You should be angry at the industry, not angry at the schools, because right now you're just charging at windmills.
Both. I'm both.
Yeah, I'm probably with you.
To me, it's also the stories that you choose. You know, how you stack it, what is the lead, how far down, how deep it is.
Because you were a sports journalist.
Yeah, well, I went to journalism school.
Did you?
And luckily, fortunately, our professor was a World War II veteran. and it was by the book.
Did he teach you? Did he? Because you assume he's conservative, so he taught you to only do conservative stories, right?
Yeah, just
only conservative.
When,
he said
why, or why.
No, that's not conservative. That's traditional. I'm talking about. He told you to advocate for the conservative position, right? Or wrong? No,
absolutely
so that's
not.
the idea. That's the idea, Blake. He taught you to be a journalist. The assumption.
I agree.
Now the assumption is that the schools aren't. When what we see
that they're all independent.
What we're seeing now is that the outlets,
right down the middle.
The outlets are asking for the opinions. That's where the opinion comes from.
All right,
your causation is wrong.
Pete is going to have our.
Yeah, he is. We gotta go.
He's got to work out too. I think he's right in the middle of his workout. So, okay, I'll get out of here. I have more to say. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 24 in Golden, 26 in Aurora, 27 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. It's Tuesday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thickening and increasing clouds across the Front Range today will make the upper 40s and low 50s. There will be a chance for a few rain or snow showers developing later today. Tonight, a chance of light snow becoming likely, especially late. Lows will be down to the lower 30s, and it will be cloudy and cold. A chance of snow on Wednesday. Highs in the 30s. Could see some accumulations. Then clearing Wednesday night, teens. Thanksgiving Day, sunny but cold, highs 30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We shouldn't have put him on hold. We should have brought him into the conversation.
Yeah, we should.
This would have been fun.
Because this is his.
Joining us is the legendary Pete Boyles. He's going to be talking about the imaginary Thanksgiving Day parade. He's going to host tomorrow. But Pete, you wanted to share some thoughts on our feisty debate we kicked off at 6 a.m. this morning.
I wanted to say, long-time caller, first-time listener.
Yes,
but
exactly.
I'm sitting here talking to the phone while you two are talking. Three of you are talking. Start this way. If two dogs are fighting, did you ever see a third dog just come along and sit down and watch?
Yep.
Dog jumps in the fight, right?
Yep.
And there's three dogs fighting, or four. Anyhow, just a couple quick comments. That was a great conversation. Number one, to your point about Chuck Plunkett. Chuck Plunkett, I personally believe, I think I have to say that, personally believe, he was pretty much responsible for the spiking of the Players and Sugar. The story, the scandal of the power brokers and the wealthy men and women who were, the wealthy men, pardon me, who were going to the Players and Sugar clubs.
Interesting.
And boys, and and does the customer list exist and do all those kinds of things? But Plunkett had a hand in that. The other part of it is, you were talking about who was talking about their World War II was professor. Everything changes after John Kennedy's killed. And then Vietnam comes, and then Watergate comes, and scandal after scandal. And we're those World War II journalists who were brilliant, the Cronkites and Severides and Murrows and those men. They were, when the government said it, they knew everybody's backs to the wall. And the beginning of the Second World War, the United States of America is in trouble, and they needed these guys. And those guys then, I don't want to use the word lied because that's not fair, but they took the side of the government. They, as a matter of fact, American people never saw the body of a dead American GI until Tarawa. This was all this kind of, think about it. I mean, that was a huge deal when they saw the bodies of, they were young Marines floating in the surf at Tarawa. And that's the first time everybody said, wow, there's really, and then of course Murrow's in London, and there was a different class of people. Then comes Lyndon Johnson, then comes Jack Kennedy's assassination, then comes Richard Nixon, then comes Watergate, and even talk radio, Jeffy, voicing your opinion. You're part of the media. I am as well as Billy. We collectively have a voice. Now, I was at Bill Husted's remembrance. Bill was a columnist here in town, and they had a remembrance on Sunday night, and I attended, and I was asked to say a few words. Bill and I worked together for years, and there's a room full of at Shanahan's, all the old hands, the newspaper guys, and just everybody that once was. And all I could think of was at the end of Margaret Mitchell's Gone with the Wind. And what did she say? It's all gone. It's gone with the wind. So the new stuff now is on the internet. The new stuff. This is why Musk really, I think, more than helped Donald Trump win. When Harris is out there knocking on doors, he's got that X team working on the internet. When she's campaigning, trying to raise money, he's running for president with Musk and all these brilliant characters that he took with him. So the media has turned into something that it's amorphous right now, and it's trying to find its way. Yep. But we know about the layoffs in our business. We know about the newspapers are diminished so far now. Network help. By the way, Kyle Clark's going to be with me tomorrow. And it'll either be Kyle or that ball-headed sidekick is going to be working. But no, it's. I mean, I'm an old man, and your dad and I, we were raised in the business together. And if I were to say to your dad, or even go back in the time machine and say this is what it's going to be, how much influence do you guys think? And this is. I know Billy's in the middle of this right now, and sadness. We're disc jockeys.
Yep.
I mean, it's all gone. I have XM in my car. I suspect Jeffrey, you do as well. And so it isn't what it was, and it's not going to find its way.
I'm interested in the trust factor. The fact that trust is so low. As how the American people view legacy media. Well, that's driving the death, in my perspective.
Well, no, it's not, because before we used to have interns, and I had a young kid, and journalism schools, by the way, are going away. But I had a young kid at J school. Missouri's a great J school, and I made the interns come in early. You can ask Mr. Thorpe, but he came in the morning. USA Today, the Journal, I forget, the Post of Rocky, and put the papers down. And this happened, 10 years ago maybe. And he dropped the papers and he said, "Hey, Pete, yesterday's news just got here." The newspapers. And I have in my hand, the one I'm talking to you guys on, I can get anything I want to know. The news has been turned into mommy news. And if you look at network, they're Nielsen's, the same people that weigh and measure you and I, the three of us, now weigh and measure, or didn't weigh and measure television. It's diminished. Cable took it over. I mean, Fox News showed them how to do it. It's Hegelian in what is to come. And I'm not bright enough to predict the future, but newspapers are, I heard all these old newspaper hands were there on Sunday night, and I heard some stories of some people that I love who are losing as we speak. Billy knows the old radio hands. Guys, I'm telling you, but plus the government, and this is something, Jeff, that talk radio lived off of, was the corruption of the Biden administration, saying horrible things about Joe Biden as a person, or about Vice President Harris as a person. My God, the same things were said about Trump. I mean, there should be a rule: nobody can be called a Nazi. But I didn't have any problems with that. But so I'm saying to you, and by the way, the only thing that probably has lower ratings than the media or politicians.
yeah, and they're right down there. Pete, can we keep you around to talk about the
Sure.
parade coming up here?
Of course.
Awesome. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Pete Boyle's up next.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. Let's get ready for that imaginary Thanksgiving Day parade.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So tomorrow is this legendary, yet imaginary parade here on 710 KNUS, hosted by Peter Boyles and Bill Thorpe. Guys, tell us what's going to happen.
Well, I wanted to play one more plug-in because I get to work for you guys on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to look at the Kennedy assassination. And there's a wonderful book I just finished entitled The Last Honest Man. And the church committee, there was the CIA, the feds, same guys we talk about now, and the Kennedys, and this church's fight to save democracy. But he exposed it for what the CIA was involved in. And recently, I don't know if you guys saw the drop where RFK Jr. was straight out asked, did the CIA kill your uncle? And he said yes. Yeah. So that's all new stuff. We'll do that on Friday. As for the imaginary Thanksgiving Day parade, it's going to be cold tomorrow, and the guys are down there building the platform right now, the reviewing platform. I will have a mystery guest riding motorcycles with me at the end of the parade. Get ready, winky, winky for that. And Cal Clark will be there. A lot of the media guys will be there, as you guys well know. But there is no holds barred. And FYI, this goes back. And I was, even after the last time I was with you guys yesterday, and I felt pretty stoogey because I thought, you can't even tell these two folks, let alone the audience, when this thing actually started.
Yeah.
And I still can't do that. But it was an idea like, well, let's do a parade and have all the callers and everybody come in and be part of it. And it just has, Jeffrey, it's just taken off from there. And I mentioned your father earlier, who I have so much respect for. This is the kind of stuff that he did.
Oh, totally. In fact, he sends me clips almost on a daily basis of all the Big Sur waterbeds ads he created over the years.
Oh, yes.
That were just kind of wild and goofy and funny. And, and you miss that comedy, especially after an election, after all the contention and the debates that continue. And Billy and I are going to be debating Trump's tariffs here in the next, 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's debate. You need a little levity and some fun.
Well, and the parade is sardonic is the best way to say, and it's sarcastic, and there's a sense of humor. There's a great line in another book that I'm reading, and it's about Johnny Carson, this new Carson book that's out, and he had that sense of humor. And they came up and they said, there was a comedian, they said, we buried him 3 days ago. And we put him in the ground was the line. And I won't do the line because it'll kill the book. In the ground, Carson says, was he dead? It's a fabulous line,
good.
But that's the kind of stuff.
This will run 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. tomorrow. People can tune in. You'll be on, 7:10 a.m. You'll be at 710knus.com. You'll be on YouTube, Rumble, X. Go ahead.
And we're telling everybody to make sure that if you're coming out to the parade, dress warmly, especially for news reports. It's going to be cold. There are going to be flurries out there. Yeah, you can join us at the reviewing stand. Come by. We have complimentary hot chocolate for you as well, along with if you give Mike Crowley the little special handshake, he might put something extra in the coffee for you. Just saying.
And better yet, how much can we have marijuana marching parades? And now we've got the magic mushroom.
Yes, exactly.
And
they're going to be a lot of fun tomorrow.
Oh, the Venezuelan marching band that Jeffy mentioned.
Yep.
This mayor. How many? These guys are gifts.
Yes.
Like you're doing an imaginary Thanksgiving Day parade, and this mayor comes out and says what he says. And I listened to you, Jeff, when I was on hold, and he's kind of saying, "Well, I wish I hadn't said it." I said, "I'll bet you do."
Yeah, I bet.
That is great. Well,
I love you guys both.
Tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And you really have Kyle Clark participating in this, or is that part of the joke?
As far as you know.
but Jeff, listening to the open of the show, I got to pay him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, but maybe we can get some of those McDonald's gift certificate things. They used to give those. I actually, 1 year working in radio, they gave us one of those $25 gift certificate things to, books from McDonald's as our Christmas bonus. We were like, What?
Sure.
What? And they bought them in bulk, so they didn't pay the full price anyway. But oh well.
And here's a legitimate question for both of you.
Yeah.
On Tricks and Treats, can you give out those Taco Bell mild packets to kids?
Yes, but it has to be a full handful. You can't go skimpy on it. As long as it's a full handful, it counts. Yeah.
That's
Kids
great. Peter Boyles,
love you both.
I
Bill,
love you. You're the best.
They're going to be tomorrow doing the Imaginary Parade 710 KNUS. It's going to be a ton of fun. Go ahead.
One more time into the breach, my friends. One more time.
Yes, everybody.
love it.
Grab a helmet. Both. Yeah, get your seatbelt. We love you, Pete. We'll talk to you tomorrow. This is
All right,
fantastic.
You Choose the News is up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, Bill, you have a very special Thanksgiving edition for us, huh?
Yes. We have a very special edition of You Choose the News because it is time to play America's big radio news game show. But today we are leaning into Turkey Day. Yes, Jeff and I are not going to be together until next week. And we are going to be celebrating with our friends and family coming up on Thursday. And so we wanted to make sure that this was some special time for everybody. I have scoured the interwebs for really ridiculous stories about Thanksgiving and some information we are going to be sharing with you. So you are guaranteed to be the most enjoyable and interesting person not talking about politics coming up at Thanksgiving dinner. Alrighty. Gentlemen, Blake Olson in the newsroom, Jeff Hunt in the studio. Here are your choices, sirs. Headline number 1, separation of church and state. Headline number 2, your family ruins the food. Headline number 3, pardon me? And headline number 4, better late than never. Mr.
No,
Hunt,
you know where I'm going. Separation of church and state.
Separation of church and state. Thanksgiving has been around for a very long time. In fact, George Washington issued the first presidential proclamation of Thanksgiving in 1789. Other presidents did follow suit, but it was Abraham Lincoln in 1863 that proclaimed it should be celebrated on the last Thursday of November. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt wasn't having any of that. In 1939, he moved it up a week earlier. However, a lot of states are like, nah, we good. So for a couple of years, we celebrated Thanksgiving at different dates across the country. Yes.
Wow.
Then finally, back when Congress could actually do stuff in 1941, they stepped in and passed a resolution setting the fixed date for the last Thursday in the fourth week, second to last month of the year. Now, separation of church and state comes in when we go back to our president, Thomas Jefferson. He was the very first president to refuse to declare Thanksgiving a special day and put out a proclamation because he said that previous presidents declared Thanksgiving to be a day of fasting, prayer, and gratitude. He said that inappropriately crossed the boundary between separation of church and state.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson should go back to France. By the way, here's a little tip on Abraham Lincoln, world-class wrestler. Did you know that? Thanks to my son Daniel, he pointed this out to me. Yep, he's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Abraham Lincoln is.
It'd be more impressive if he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, personally, as a pro wrestling fan, but yeah, I wasn't around then. Alrighty. Blake Olson, your choice, sir. Your family ruins food, pardon me, or better late than never?
Better late than never.
Yeah, better late than never. Sometimes you just can't celebrate Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving. Back in 1705, the townspeople of Gloucester, Connecticut decided to delay Thanksgiving. They weren't having it that year because of the weather. It wasn't because they were too cold. It's because the weather had interfered with the shipment of molasses. Without molasses, they couldn't make pumpkin pie. Without pumpkin pie, the entire town said, that ain't Thanksgiving. So they delayed it for a couple of weeks until the molasses showed up. In fact, there are some traditional dishes you're going to have on the Thanksgiving table that weren't at the very first Thanksgiving. One of them, potatoes, mashed or otherwise. They were not there because potatoes were not grown in North America during the first Thanksgiving. That cranberry sauce, also a no-no. Cranberry sauce wasn't invented until about 50 years after the original Thanksgiving. But there is one thing that should be on your table that we no longer serve that I guarantee was at that very first Thanksgiving. Lobster. At the time, lobster was incredibly popular.
Seafood.
Yeah, lobster was incredibly popular and easy to catch. Lobster was at the very first Thanksgiving, but that cranberry sauce and the potatoes, they weren't there. Just remember that we're eating.
Yeah. Oh man, my boys would be happy about that.
No seafood at the dinner table.
Alrighty,
I'm right there with you,
Mr. Hunt. Family ruins food, or pardon me?
Pardon me.
Yeah, pardon me. If you've ever wondered about those presidential pardons, well, it actually started back in 1863 with Abraham Lincoln. He was the first one to issue a presidential turkey pardon, but it was for a different holiday. He pardoned the Christmas turkey, not the Thanksgiving turkey. So originally, this was Christmas. And what is the most popular food that we consume on Thanksgiving?
Mashed potatoes.
No, pie. In fact, we consume about 5 million more pies every year than we do turkeys. Yes, we buy 5 million more pies than we do turkeys. The most popular food on Thanksgiving is the pie. And it is pumpkin that is the most popular. And also remember, it is your family that is going to be ruining your food. According to a survey this year by Jenny O, 96% of Americans say it's the leftovers that are the best part of Thanksgiving. Not when everybody's gathering. Yeah. But depends on what the leftovers are. I'm going to share this story with you. Back in November of 1926, President Calvin Coolidge was gifted a raccoon to eat for his Thanksgiving dinner. It was a gift from Vinnie Joyce and Nutta Yuma of Mississippi. They sent him a live raccoon, but instead of putting it on the menu, he adopted it, made it a family pet, and called it Rebecca.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end. You choose
And
it
then
as
the
Thanksgiving
government
edition.
came in and killed Rebecca.
Yes, they did. That's
Tested it for rabies.
Back to you, sir.
All right. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. Newly released body cam video shows the moment a Cook County commissioner was arrested for DUI after she allegedly crashed her car into 2 other cars.
You don't want that.
I
I'm
do.
an elected official.
I actually do. Elected official of what?
Cook County.
On the video, 45-year-old Samantha Steele says that she doesn't want to be on video before refusing to get out of the car.
Step out. No, she's saying she's an elected official of Cook County.
I don't want to be on the video.
Oh, you are on video.
You are on video.
You are on video, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
According to the arrest warrant, officers spotted an open bottle of wine in the car. They said Steele's eyes were bloodshot and detected a strong odor of alcohol. When Steele refused a roadside test, she was arrested.
Tell your attorney, since he's on the phone, are you going to do field sobriety tests or no?
No.
Okay.
No,
Are you being arrested? You say no. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. We waiting for that. Because she just refused. I asked her to do field sobriety tests and she refused.
Airports and highways are expected to be jam-packed this week as the Thanksgiving holiday period is likely going to end up being another record day for air travel in the United States. AAA predicts that nearly 80 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles from home between today and next Monday, most of them by car. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
It is 7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You just woke up in the greatest country in history, and it's Thanksgiving week. We've got an entire show planned up for you of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson. 2 really big posts on True Social yesterday coming from DJT, all about tariffs. And he's sick and tired of the drugs and illegal immigration coming from Mexico. This is what he wrote. As everyone is aware, This is Donald J. Trump. As everyone is aware, thousands of people are pouring through Mexico and Canada. I didn't know they were coming through Canada. Maybe they are.
Oh,
Tired of Trudeau.
In fact, if you looked at where the Chinese nationals that everybody was so mad about,
oh, they coming through
they
Canada.
came through Canada.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Bringing crime and drugs, he continues, at levels never seen before. Right now, a caravan coming from Mexico, composed of thousands of people, seems to be unstoppable in its quest to come through our currently open border. On January 20th is one of my many first executive orders. I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into the United States and its ridiculous open borders. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time as they do, it is time for them to pay a very big price. Want to get your calls on this? What do you think about a 25% tariff on all products coming from Mexico and Canada? I can only imagine what happened to the politicians' cell phones yesterday in Mexico and Canada from the business community tearing up those lines. Want to hear what you think. Is this good for America? Is this going to make things more expensive in America? Or are we finally going to hold Mexico and Canada accountable based upon the power of our economies? That if you want to do business with us, you better do what we tell you to, or you're going to pay a price. 303-696-1971 is the phone line. 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line 720-819-5115. But first, news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 27 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, DJT's federal election interference case is being officially dismissed. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a motion to drop the felony charges connected with Trump's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election, and a judge agreed Monday. Smith said the charges had to be dismissed before Trump takes office in January because of a Justice Department policy that sitting presidents won't be prosecuted.
You're absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail.
Border czar Tom Homan at the southern border today with the Texas governor. Last night he was on Fox talking about the Denver mayor, Mike Johnston.
Because there's a statute. It's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III. And what it says is, it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear, we want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
Mayor, what say you? 9 News interviewed Johnston last night, and he's backpedaling a little.
Are you open to sending Denver police officers to the county line to stop federal forces or National Guardsmen from other states from coming into Denver?
We have no plan to do that. And we really hope that we don't ever have to do that. I think
no plan, but are you open to?
What we're going to do right now is, it's hard to keep an eye on what the future president actually plans to do and what the proposal actually is.
It sounds to me like you're walking back the comments from a couple days ago saying that you would be willing to send Denver police officers. Do you regret making those comments and now getting questions like this?
Would I have taken it back if I could? Yes, I probably wouldn't have used that image because that's the image I hope we can avoid. What I was trying to say is this is an outcome I hope we can avoid in this country. I think none of us want that.
DJT is promising to impose new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China on his first day in office. Trump took to Truth Social on Monday to say he would enact tariffs of 25% on all Canadian and Mexican goods, with another 10% tariff on all Chinese goods. The DEA says it's seized almost 700,000 fentanyl-laced fake pills headed to Denver. This seizure, or these seizures, which took place in Albuquerque and the Springs, began following a tip of suspicious men in Albuquerque who were traveling to Denver via bus. One of the men fled, leaving behind 2 suitcases that were seized by Albuquerque police and contained over 330,000 fake pills. The second man continued to Denver before being caught in the Springs with 2 suitcases and a backpack filled with another 340,000 fake pills. The DEA says the suspect arrested in Colorado is a Denver resident wanted on outstanding drug trafficking warrants. Walmart is rolling back some of its diversity initiatives, pulling some LGBTQ related merchandise and shutting down a nonprofit that funds programs for minorities. The nation's largest retailer is one of several companies pulling the plug on similar programs and efforts in the face of a conservative backlash. Dun, dun, dun. Tomorrow morning here on the radio station, the legend Peter Boyles with his radio-only Thanksgiving parade with the great Billy Thorpe.
The guys are down there building the platform right now, the reviewing platform. I will have a mystery guest riding motorcycles with me at the end of the parade. Get ready, winky, winky for that. And Cal Clark will be there. A lot of the media guys will be there, as you guys well know. But there is no holds barred. And
man, and I'm planning to go to the Macy's Day Parade with my family, but it looks like it's going to be raining cats and dogs in New York, but they say the wind will be down so the balloons can be up. 23 in Louisville, 25 in Lone Tree, 27 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Tuesday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thickening and increasing clouds across the Front Range today will make the upper 40s and low 50s. There will be a chance for a few rain or snow showers developing later today. Tonight, a chance of light snow becoming likely, especially late. Lows will be down to the lower 30s, and it will be cloudy and cold. A chance of snow on Wednesday. Highs in the 30s. Could see some accumulations. Then clearing Wednesday night, teens. Thanksgiving Day, sunny but cold, highs 30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, we're talking tariffs. Donald Trump ready. Day one, 25% tariff on all products coming in from Mexico and Canada. I can't even imagine how many products that is, especially from Mexico. Imagine the maple syrup we get from Canada, but most of that's coming from Mexico. And
we get a lot of oil from Canada.
Oh, yeah, that's right, through the pipelines.
Yeah, a lot of oil.
And then a 10% tariff, an additional 10% tariff on China because of what they're doing with drugs. Talk about a war on drugs. Holy cow, this is pushing it to a whole nother level. All right, Bill, I'll turn it over to you. Your thoughts on this?
Unfortunately, this reinforces that Trump doesn't really understand tariffs. He doesn't understand who's going to pay. He doesn't understand the impact to the American consumer. and his demands are rather amorphous. He says until they stop all the drugs and all the illegal immigration. All? Really? How is the all going to be accomplished? And he says the other countries can do it easily. Really? He doesn't outline how, doesn't outline what the things are they could do that is very easy, that they could all of a sudden do this, and hasn't outlined why they aren't doing it. But now he's going to try to use a stick and force them to do it. But the bottom line is, we can agree, I believe, on the realm of realism, that it is not something that is accomplished easily. If it was accomplished easily, I submit the other countries would be doing it. And I also believe that he's... Okay, the vast majority, and I believe that Stephen Tubbs, friend of the show and former host here at KNUS, will agree that the vast majority of the illegal drugs come through either not through ports, but through other means or trafficked by Americans. And there was a story a number of years ago, a bunch of kids down in California, as you talked about the open border in California. I believe they were high school and beginning in college, and they were surfers. And they would go down into Mexico, and they were drug mules, and they would bring their surfboards down. And what happened was they had an agreement with the cartels that the cartels were manufacturing surfboards for them. And so they'd bring their real surfboards down, come down and surf. And when they came back, they'd bring back a different surfboard, but the surfboard had been hollowed out. And they had put hundreds of thousands of dollars inside the each one of the surfboards. And it was best because they'd put them on top of the cars, which kept them away from the drug dogs and most of the inspections, because you were looking elsewhere. You weren't looking at the surfboards. They got pinched eventually for it because they got caught and all into prison for it. But there's a lot of that happening, because the easiest way to get drugs into the country isn't with someone who is trying to sneak into the country illegally. The easiest way to get in the country is with someone that's already a citizen, because they have the easiest passage in and out. But again, what do you mean by all? So if we are still getting, a couple of thousand fentanyl pills, the tariffs still stay? That's the weird part. It seems that he's playing a zero-sum game, which is a weird thing to do. Again, some of what he's doing is hyperbole, but the most dangerous thing is that he has no idea how tariffs actually function economically. But this will be interesting to see.
All right. As you can imagine, I disagree. And I'd love to hear your perspective. Give us a phone call at 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. I think that Donald Trump perfectly understands how tariffs work. And I said it from the very beginning, he's going to utilize the power of the American economic engine. We are the biggest economy in the world, and we have tremendous wealth, tremendous power. And if you want to do business with the United States of America, you better start playing by our rules. We're not just going to allow you to come across and sell what you want to sell without tariffs, and then allow our country to fall into despair because of these drug overdoses, the illegal immigration that's taking place. He is going to right the ship, and he's going to use the power of the American economy to do that. So here's what he's going to do. He is saying to Mexico, to Canada, and to China, stop taking advantage of the United States of America. And if you're going to pay a serious price for it. I also think this is the opening salvo, whatever the word is.
Salvo.
There, thank you. Not great in my English major. This is a opening salvo that he wants to renegotiate with these countries. Do I think it's going to be all, like if one pill gets through or a handful of fentanyl gets through, that somehow Mexico is going to continue to pay 25% tariff? No.
But Mexico doesn't pay the tariff. We got to functionally outline that. It's not who pays the tariff. It's not how tariffs work. And Donald Trump doesn't understand that, and that's a problem. That is a functional problem with what he's trying to do. He does not understand who pays the tariff. He believes the exporter pays the tariff, and that is wrong. And that is economics 101.
I don't know if I fully agree with that. I understand.
What do you mean?
Hang
on, Jeff. These are facts. This is how tariffs work.
You say the importer pays it.
Yes, that's how tariffs work. Tariffs are a tax on American consumers.
And you don't think they're going to pass that back to the exporter? You think they're going to pass that all entirely on to the American people?
Why would the exporter pay the tariff?
Why would the American people pay it?
Because Donald Trump's making them, or you don't get the good.
Why don't they just go somewhere else?
What do you mean? Who they? Go where?
The American people.
You can't. If you're going to have an extra tariff on your Apple iPhone, nobody else but China makes the Apple iPhone. You're not going to be able to go anywhere else. If he puts a 25% on stuff coming up from South America, we only have 2 importers of coffee. We don't make coffee here. We don't make sugar here. We're going to have to pay import taxes on sugar. The exporter doesn't pay that.
Does Mexico make sugar?
I think they have some, but again, it's further in South America as well. But again, that's all
it's
imported.
Another country.
But we don't make it though. That's the issue. But he's talking about putting a tariff on everything, even a 10% tax on other stuff.
Through Mexico and Canada.
But others. He's going to hit other people
it has
too.
So what he's doing is using the power of the American economy to negotiate other issues, foreign policy issues, which is how I thought he was going to use tariffs all along.
Yeah. He's going to try to enact foreign policy changes on the back of the American consumers. He's going to make it more difficult for you to put food on your table. And more difficult
in that line of thinking, the assumption is there's no other alternatives, and we're all going to have to pay more money no matter what, because we couldn't create anything else in this country.
Yeah, because some of it's
we can't use the manufacturing. We can't move the manufacturing onto this. This country.
Not in that way. No,
none of that.
Not if you're going to pay, because what do you think the hourly wage is going to be for an Apple worker that's going to assemble the phones here versus the hourly wage that is currently paid in China? We can agree it's slave labor. But if you're going to pay more, that's more as far as the input and the cost of production. So your Apple iPhone is going to cost more. Yes, and Trump doesn't understand this. And I just for a sec, we're gonna have this just to set the bar, because I understand. We got text messages or get calls, people saying that I'm wrong, that Trump is doing this, that he's actually very clever. I want to play this audio to prove Trump doesn't understand who pays the tariffs. This is him talking about his tariffs on China.
China devalues their currency. They pour money into their system. They pour it in. And because they do that, you're not paying for those tariffs. China's paying for those tariffs. The tariffs are not being paid for by our people. It's being paid for by China. But the American taxpayer is not paying for it. China's paying the tariffs. They're devaluing their currency, and they're pumping money in. That's paying for the tariffs. Our people have not been paying for the tariffs. And by the way, our people are not paying for it. So our taxpayer is not paying for very much of it. China is subsidizing product. So the United States taxpayer is paying for very little of it.
Our country can take in $120 billion a year in tariffs, paid for mostly by China, by the way. And these tariffs are paid for largely by China.
Our people aren't paying for those tariffs. In that case, certainly, China is paying for them.
Foolishly, some people said that the American taxpayer is paying the tariffs of China. No. It's not that way.
And he's wrong. The importer pays the tariff. That is functionally how it works. And that is just an economic fact. It's not a debatable issue. That is how it works. And here's why.
I think that's perfectly debatable issue.
No, it's not. The importer pays, and the importer pays the tariff. And here's why. This is how it works. Okay. You're selling, let's say you're in Mexico, and you're selling Jeff's wonderful CU Prime jerseys. And so when I have to buy Jeff's wonderful CU Prime jerseys and bring them into America, I have to pay the cost of the jerseys from you. The tariff is implemented at the border. The border is when I'd have to turn around and cut an extra check to Donald J. Trump, because I already paid you. You got paid already for your jerseys. You don't then have to cut an extra check to Trump in order to import them here. I have to as the importer. It is my responsibility. And unless you think that I am some sort of a large magnanimous business in which I'm going to eat higher production costs, it's not going to happen. The importer pays the tariff. That's how this works.
And somehow your belief that the importer and the exporter are somehow not linked in that cost exchange is fascinating to me. You just think that the importer is totally independent of the tariff as it relates to the exporter.
So you're gonna how much if I'm trying to import your jerseys, how much extra you pay? How much extra are you gonna pay? I'm already cutting.
Am I the importer or the exporter?
You. Jeff's wonderful jerseys that are made in Mexico. You have a 20% tariff that's imported by Donald Trump. Right. How much of that are you paying? Because I got to pay it. It's going to cost me to bring that across the border. How much are you willing to pay? How much extra money are you willing to give me back that's going to cut your profits and it's going to cut into your price of production. So you're going to lower your costs.
What's going to happen?
You're going to lower the cost you're going to take.
The importer is going to go look elsewhere, right? Now, in order for me to pay as the exporter, is to get your business as the exporter, I'm going to have to lower my costs even more. I'm going to have to take a bigger hit in order to do that, so that you can cover the import tax that you're being charged by the tariff, you're being charged by the federal government. It's going to create more of a free market. It's going to create more demand. That's exactly how it works. And if America can do it better, then the importer's not going to have to pay the tariff, and he's going to go look for business inside the United States. That's what Donald Trump's thinking. All right, we got absolutely jam-packed phone lines. Text messages pouring in as well. If you can't get through on the phones, give us a text at 720-819-5115. I think this is a powerful tool that Donald Trump wants to use now to achieve foreign policy ends. And if it puts pressure on Mexico, and all those businesses in Mexico are freaking out now over this, those lawmakers, those politicians in Mexico right now are finally going to have to take this drug trade that is destroying American lives a lot more seriously. All right, we'll get to your phone calls and texts. I do want to talk to you about our friends over at Colorado Christian University. Do you know a high school student passionate about engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics with an emphasis in public policy prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics in an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. J.D. Vance is speaking out after special counsel Jack Smith decided to drop all federal cases against President Donald Trump, saying if Trump had lost the election, he may very well have spent the rest of his life in prison. These prosecutions were always political. Now it's time to ensure what happened to President Trump never happens in this country again. Federal prosecutors moved to abandon 2 criminal cases against Trump, ending the attempt to federally prosecute him in a pair of cases that Trump has called politically motivated. The prosecutors cited a long-standing Justice Department policy that says sitting presidents cannot face criminal prosecution. The decision by Smith represents the end of the federal effort against the former president, who had a decisive victory in the election earlier this month. A Russian man has been sentenced to 14 years in prison after being found guilty of high treason for a video he sent to Ukraine security services. It's the latest in a series of espionage cases amid the fighting in Ukraine. The Volgograd District Court says Nikita Zuraval has been in disagreement with the political course of the Russian Federation. The charges are based on allegations that Zuraval filmed military equipment in 2023 and sent the video to a representative of Ukraine's security agency. Rights activists called Zuraval a political prisoner. That's what you need to know at this hour. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Jam-packed phone lines as Donald Trump sends two socials calling for a 25% tariff on all products coming from Mexico or Canada until they figure out the illegal immigration and drug problems that are destroying this country, and a 10% additional tariff on products coming from China until they stop the fentanyl. We're tired of it. There's a new sheriff in town. He's not going to put up with it anymore. That's how I see it. Billy thinks Donald Trump, the billionaire, doesn't know anything about tariffs.
Yeah, doesn't at all. Why do you laugh? He doesn't. He said it openly. He has no clue.
Oh, Bill, he's a successful finance guy.
I know,
but he understands how tariffs work.
Well, you heard him say that China pays it, and that's not correct.
I disagree. I think China does pay it.
They don't. That's not how tariffs work. Because the exporter doesn't pay tariffs. That is not how it works. If you want to, we can refer to an economics professor at University of Massachusetts, and he'll be happy to outline it for us.
Okay.
If you want.
Let's go to the phone lines. Billy and I are already kicking it off this morning. Steven, Denver, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning, fellas. Hey, before I stumble into an area that I really don't know anything about, I just want to say that I wish the Republicans would start to be cleverly wordsmithing and that Trump would just say he's not going to deport anyone. He's just going to repatriate them.
That's honestly smart.
Go back to your country. Well, on the word things, by the way, Channel 4 yesterday on this guy that was a drunk driver, multiple DUIs, including one in the day before, drives his car over between 80 and 100 miles an hour in a 40, crashes into a mom and her son, drives the car into a tree. The mom dies instantly. The son dies in the hospital a little bit later. And Channel 4 called him a Colorado man, even though he had been deported 4 times. Deported 4 times. The libs over at Channel 4, I guess, called him a Colorado man. Jeez. Yeah, no.
Not a newcomer?
Yeah, right. Now, do you have thoughts on the tariffs?
Yes, I do. I not only listen to you guys, but I listen to Michael Brown. And I would pay $100 if 50 of it went to the police benevolent, the police fund. And I think a lot of other people would love to hear in a nice auditorium, Billy and Michael Brown go at it over tariffs, because you both have a completely different view, and it would be a fun battle to watch.
That would be fun, and I'd be open to that any point in time. But my perception is based on economics 101, and then following from there, because the importer pays
Billy,
the tariff. Yeah,
Billy.
Yes,
I'm not. I'm just setting. I'm Don King. I'm setting up the battle. I'm not going to argue it.
Here's the thing, man. No, I'm there. I'm
I had to
all in
cheat.
for it, man.
In 1971, I had to cheat to get through a college basic economics class just to get a D. So
no, I'd be all.
I just want to listen
chances
to you
are, Stephen,
and Michael Brown go at it.
Chances are, Stephen, that you actually probably could do better in business than some of those economics professors. Stephen, really appreciate the call.
Thanks
man.
So
much.
A great idea. I'd be up for that in a second.
Let's go to Brian Arvada. Good morning, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Morning, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same to you.
There's 5 million more voters that have a lot to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. So that's a good thing. Hey, on this tariff thing, I know, Billy, you want to bring in an expert from University of UMass, but Charles Payne, financial expert, wrote a 7-page paper in 2018 on W Street all about tariffs when Trump's first administration. And I challenge you to read that because you might change your opinion a little bit. It's a bargaining chip. There's so many different things it does. If you just talk about the quantitative effects immediately, that you're losing the point. There's so much more into it. It's a bargaining chip. It's the consumer will pay a little bit more, but the business will take on some cost, and they'll also start buying from different places like Vietnam, Honduras, and those economies will grow. China's on their heels right now because of this tariff announcement.
Yeah.
Their economic stimulus package that they announced when they thought the Democrats were going to win the last 2 years, in the tank. So read that paper and you'll probably change your views maybe a little bit.
I'm not certain about that. And here's the idea that, Brian, is the assumption is that I don't understand the idea of the chain of supply and the changes. One of the things that I have written down on the notes that I have in front of me is that the big winner in all of this is, wait for it, Vietnam. Exactly the reference point you just made. So I bet that what Payne talks about, there are large agreements. I bet Charles Payne understands the importer pays the tariff, which is unlike what Donald Trump says. I bet he agrees on that premise without reading what he says. Now, he is right that the importer can choose to absorb some of that cost, but that cuts into the importer's profitability. And you're going to tell me that some of these multi-billion-dollar companies are going to eat that cost? No, they pass it on 9 times out of 10. They might pass it on. They may take a little bit of it, but the bottom line is prices for consumers will go up under this tariff plan. And that is fundamentally true. And I understand him talking about it being a bargaining chip. And that's why I outlined earlier on, Brian, that I'm worried about his end goal. He says until we stop all the fentanyl and all the illegal immigration. That seems to me to be a pie in the sky. I don't think you can ever get to a sum total of 0. But if he's using it as a bargaining chip, then what we know is he's coming in way too hot, and it really doesn't matter. And the issue being the people negotiating with him also knows that. Also knows this is an opening salvo and he's mostly full of crap. And so what does that do to his opening position? It undermines and erodes his position also. And also undermines his position because he doesn't understand how the tariffs work. I bet Payne and I are probably closer than we diverge. We may come to different conclusions on things. But he's right. Vietnam is going to be the enormous winner. And guess what? All those jobs, all that stuff going to Vietnam, guess what's not going to create? An American manufacturing job. Not at all. Because the manufacturing, the supply lines move to Vietnam. Yes, I agree.
Trump Trump doesn't need to be an expert on tariffs. He has people around him that are experts on tariffs. He's just a spokesperson. So yeah, he says the flamboyant things to get people's attention, but behind the scenes, he's not the one making all these policy decisions. It's an expert that knows a lot more than you and me.
Wasn't that the problem with the Biden administration? Wasn't that the problem with the Biden administration? We had all these other people making the decisions for Biden.
I want to go back to
Not
the
guy in
idea
charge.
that China,
left-wing experts.
So we're no longer making it in China. We're now making it in Vietnam.
Yeah.
China is, according to a lot of people, the single greatest threat. Not just single, but a very serious threat to the United States. And that's somehow a bad thing that we've done that?
No, my critique was he's not creating the American jobs he's promising. Because remember,
But
he's talking about, hang on a second.
But we're not making it in
Trump-
China anymore.
I
So
understand
the
that,
idea, but Bill, you're setting this whole thing up as if like all of a sudden all the manufacturing has to take place in America.
Here's the thing. That's how Trump talks about it. He talks about bilateral trade.
Never said
Yes.
that all
Yes, he said if you don't want to pay the tariff,
manufacturing is going to end
you
up
need
in
to-
America.
He said if you don't like the tariff, you need to make your stuff in America. He views trade as being bilateral between two partners because in his world for real estate deals, it's bilateral. It is two parties that are agreeing on something.
I don't
That is
see
not
that at
how
all.
global. That is
When
not how
has he
global
ever
trade
said
works.
that all manufacturing needs to be in the United States?
Not all manufacturing, but that's what he says
But
is going to
that's
happen.
just what I
Hang on.
said.
Wait, what he says is that it will bring manufacturing back to the U.S. and it won't. Exactly what Brian, our friend, said right there, and Charles Payne agreed that
But
it'll be
isn't it
shifted.
a
Supply
good
lines will be
thing
shifted
that-
to Vietnam.
And that's a good thing.
Yes, it can be, but it will take time to ramp up those
Very
production
few
lines.
jobs will come back. Very few jobs will come back
Agreed.
in the manufacturing sector. But that we've moved. America needs to move on from that, from actually physically manufacturing things. But I will pay a little bit more, and the companies will take on the hit to. Americans will pay a little bit more to be safer, to be more secure, and to back down our enemies.
Yeah,
I
Brian,
will pay a little more
I think you're
any day, and I'm
exactly right.
sure most Americans will too.
Got a question for you, Brian. In this past election, was the economy one of the top two reasons you voted for the particular candidate?
Yes.
And was it because the economy and the prices and what you're paying for stuff at the store right now, is that the pain point that you're seeing?
Yes.
Okay. Then understand that the person coming into power, as you just outlined, is going to raise those prices. And you agreed to that. So all I'm saying is understand that as we walk forward, it is reasonable to say those people that voted for Trump that are upset about the higher prices are now going to end up paying higher prices. And Brian, I appreciate you being honest enough to say you are okay with that. And you're trading it for security, and that is perfectly fine. And I get it. And that's good. And I agree with you. And that can be a great argument, but you're going to be paying more.
Let me respond. I believe inflation's going to go down big time. I just filled up my gas pump, and it was a heck of a lot less than it was 3 weeks ago before the election.
What is
inflation?
But what is inflation?
And I can tell you right now, inflation's going to go down. And I'm not an economic expert, but I can tell you consumer spending is going to go up. Inflation is going to go down, and then I'm going to pay a little bit more, and I'll probably break even for security.
What's inflation?
And that's my take.
What's inflation right now? If you had to guess, what do you think?
A heck of a lot more than it was 4 years ago.
Give me a number. What do you think?
Again, I'm not an expert, but I know
and that's a problem,
inflation
Brian?
is going to go down, and the little more that I have to pay, even if I break even today, and for security, backing down my enemies, and being more free, I'm good with that, and I guarantee most Americans are as well.
Yeah, I understand where you're going. Thanks you so much for the call, Brian. I get that, but here's the idea: inflation is just barely above 2% right now. That's about where it was when Trump left. We're at the same point. There's not a lot of ways that you can get it below that 2%. And tariffs are inflationary pressure that will raise prices. The thing that you said is going to fall can't fall that much. And the actions Trump is taking are guaranteed to raise prices and cause inflationary pressure. Just last week, the CEO of Walmart on their annual earnings call said that consumers better prepare for higher prices because of all the imports, and these tariffs are going to be inflationary. And that is the CEO of Walmart.
The economy is a lot bigger than that, and the actual inflation rate since Joe Biden took office is north of 20% and is worse in this state than it is nationally.
And Trump's plans are to raise prices. Congratulations.
I disagree. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Dwayne, Divide. Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, gentlemen. Pretty much all the thunder I was going to explain has been given out. So I wanted to mention the fact that we need to remember first responders, military families who are not going to be together on Thursday. So please, can we throw a few seconds of silence and a prayer for them? And always remember, of course, that there are people who sacrifice far more than just a couple of hours in the day or trying to get some overtime if we could do that. But again, most everything will go to Vietnam. There'll be some price adjustments. It's blather and puppery right now. So we'll see how that works. But I do want to talk about Lincoln if I have a second.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. He was a wrestler, and Mary Todd would sit there and go out into the middle of the arena and do all the SmackDown talk. She'd sit there and say about Lanky Abe and, what kind of things he had and how he'd sit there and take a log and beat you like a dog. And of course, the most important thing is she'd sit there and say that my man, Abraham, will beat you with a ham. And then she'd drop a corn cob. They didn't have microphones. And that's how most of Abraham Lincoln's fights would start. So just something to think about. On the fly, guys. I've just done 9 turkeys and I'm freaking right now. So I just finished the last deep fried turkey.
Wow.
Outside in the cold, and everything's going into a 5-gallon bucket right now. Everything's sealed and everything else, and people are coming by to pick it up because it's not just sprinkling snow up here. Oh, no. Mother of God.
No, what do you have?
But for snow? Or for what everybody's eating?
No, the snow. Tell us about the snow. Yeah, what could we expect possibly?
It looks like somebody just exploded an entire cocaine traveling from Colombia up here. It's white everywhere. It's cold. I'm outside doing the turkeys, and it's like great because it's like a freeze flash when I pull them out, and then I can put everything together. Right now we've got about 2 inches, and it's coming down quietly. It's very fine, like cornmeal, which means we're going to get hammered. So I'm calling everybody today and going, come pick your stuff up. We just passed 75 pounds of potatoes. Little man's been squeezing them out in a ricer. He looked at me and he goes, I'm getting money for this, aren't I? I said, oh yeah, $5-10 tops. So it's a lot of fun being a catering service at times. But like I say, tariffs, everything else, it's going to be interesting. And as far as maple syrup from Canada goes, as a Canadian national, now American citizen and blessed by it, Massachusetts and Vermont have far better.
There you go.
Amber is the best way to go. Gentlemen,
and they'll have
the best
boom.
of holiday times.
Dwayne, great. Have a great Thanksgiving as well. Thank you. Look, I want to talk to you about my friends Dan Kaplis and Dan Kaplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Look, if you hire some attorney because you saw them go by on a bus billboard, well, it's going to send a message to everybody involved in the injury case that you're not super serious about this. You're not hiring the very best. Dan shares our values. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. That matters. But it doesn't matter as much as necessarily winning. And Dan Kaplis, in this case, is the winner. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan Kaplis Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551. Or hit dankaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Absolutely jam-packed lines as we dive into Donald Trump and tariffs. He sent 2 posts on Truth Social yesterday, one saying a 10% additional tariff on China. He's tired of the fentanyl coming through, and then a 25% tariff on all things coming from Mexico and Canada until they step up the game and address drugs and open borders. This is exactly how I thought he was going to use tariffs, as a tool in his foreign policy negotiation tool chest. Is it going to work? Is it finally going to get these countries to take these problems more seriously and stop affecting our country in such a negative way with these open borders and drugs and illegal immigration? And is it going to encourage them to address these, or is it going to be a disaster and just drive up the prices on everything? And Mexico's like, whatever. Let's go to the phone lines. Jim, Denver. Good morning, Jim.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. You've got to shut off the demand from these addicts in this country. That's the only way you're going to stop this in all fashions. But that's never going to happen. However, Donald Trump, he has a philosophy on money that is based upon his life experiences. And I got to tell you, Donald Trump is going to outspend FDR and Reagan combined. He might do it in the first 2 years, and we're going to love it. And if we think that prices are ever going down, we're one of those idiot addicts that are demanding these drugs across the border. So, my parents, they both grew up in $33,000 houses. Me, my wife, we both grew up in $30,000 houses. My kids, they grew up in $300,000 houses. And now, right now where we sit, that house that my kid grew up in is worth, it's valued at $800,000. And even with 5 different tax cuts across the last 50 years, we're still paying more in taxes because our entire system is devoted to, and our entire government, including the so-called conservatives, are devoted to increasing profits. And increasing profits will never lower your prices. And Donald Trump doesn't know the first thing about economics or financials. And all you got to do is refer to the
Jim, come on, hold on. I got to stop you there. Donald Trump doesn't know the first thing about economics?
Protection courts. The government bankruptcy protection courts have kept the free markets that you've used the term for this morning at arm's length from him and his entire family forever. Period. Argue that one.
Jim, the idea that we three guys, and Jim, I'm going to put myself in this category, can hold a candle to the businesses that Donald Trump has built and then claim that he doesn't know the first thing about economics and business?
Selling Bibles, Jeff. How many Bibles did you buy because they had DJT's name on it or Stormy Daniels' signature in the back? Jeff, come on.
Here's the thing. Here's where I think that Jim is correct on this, is that the idea of being too big to fail. We have allowed our bankruptcy court to insulate. Once you get to a certain level, you are not allowed to fail. You can totally crash your entire business into a mountaintop, and the U.S. taxpayers will step in to make you whole. And that would be the car industry. That would be the finance industry.
Donald Trump, the three of us sitting here, can claim Donald Trump doesn't know anything about economics. Come on.
Doesn't understand if he's a tariff.
He knows how to build businesses. He knows how to become the president of the United States. Let's give him a little credit.
And declare bankruptcy multiple times.
All right, great
and
call,
run a fraudulent
Jim.
university.
All right, we're going to talk about debt next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
It is 8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on this Tuesday, November 26th. I'm your co-host, along with hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Congratulations. You woke up in the greatest country in history. And we're off and running, engaging in discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your phone calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, a man that definitely knows spending, especially government spending, is going to join us. The former state treasurer of Colorado, Mark Hillman, got a great piece out the other day. National debt is the silent threat to America's security. This is something I am super, super, super concerned about. And I'm concerned about the Trump administration on this and how they're going to take on the debt. I am so grateful. Thank God that Donald Trump and Republicans have control of the House and Senate. I just hope they can do something, for the love of God, do something about this debt. $38 trillion, to the point where our interest payments just on the debt itself is skyrocketing. The fiscal negligence and generational theft that's taking place, Mark Hillman writes, is just the tip of the iceberg. In just a decade, debt held by the public is projected to reach $52 trillion, or 122% of the GDP. You want to talk about screwing over the next generation and leaving them in perilous problems? It's our debt, and we're going to talk about that. I want to get to Mary first. She's been very patient on the phone lines. Mary, good morning. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, morning.
Hey, morning and happy Thanksgiving for you too. I miss you and look forward to hearing you when you guys come back on Monday together.
You're so sweet. I love Mary. You have a great voice, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. What I wanted to say is that I'm your average American. I think that I represent the average American. I'm 80 years old. I'm now on Social Security, on the low end of it. I think that when you guys talk about this tariff thing is more on the intellectual level, and it upsets me. I think that what Trump is doing for the average American, I believe if it's sold right, we will have no problem that, yes, the prices will be higher to us because the tariffs have to go in, but he's using it, as the last caller said, as a chip. But what I'm trying to get across is my son died from fentanyl overdose and marijuana last October. And I am willing to pay for getting those drugs out of this country. And I think the average American out there, if sold and told, if this is why our prices on groceries are still high, I'm willing to pay it. And I don't think that you folks take those kind of consideration. It's not just the what do you call it, the balance book. It's of why those tariffs are going to be offered. If it gets those drugs out of this country and our children back on track, then damn it, I'm willing to pay it.
Now, you make a wonderful argument, and I think if Trump sells it like that properly, there might be a case for it. The problem is, how do you affect that? Are we certain that Mexico is going to be able to do X, Y, or Z? Because the issue being that, and this is a problem that I've got when we talk about it being tariffs, what Donald Trump is saying is, in order to make Mexico and Canada do what we want, we need to put pain on the American consumer. And that, to me, is a really weird place to get to, that's how we are going to enact this big change. And the other reason that I question this a lot is because we heard over and over again, inflation, prices, economy. And now the very first big
But you're
move.
hearing also, but Billy, you're hearing also that we're concerned with the invasion of these illegals. You're hearing we're also concerned about the amount of drugs that are coming in. And there's been nothing over, not just this administration, but all of them. I said, I'm 80. All those policies have impacted me my whole life. And yes, I do believe it worked. It worked when he got them, when he couldn't build the wall in his last thing, and he had them stay in place in Mexico. Why did Mexico do that? It was because of the threat of the tariffs.
Not necessarily that. There was an agreement that was reached
That's
based
always
on there was an agreement that was reached based on immigration, and we know that the tariffs negatively impacted American consumers and in many cases American businesses. We shed over 250,000 manufacturing jobs under Trump's last tariffs. It's not going to get us to the position that we want. I believe that what you mean by tying it into the fentanyl and the drug imports does have some merit to it, but I don't think that this is the way to get there because it seems vastly amorphous and too large. He's not actually looking at the importers. He's not looking at how those drugs come through. He's just going to attack
that
the
big
country.
issue. I had an opportunity. I took my life savings and invested it in a business that was very good. And guess what? The invasion of those illegals stole my business. I'm that average American. You keep talking about the big picture on that. Well, I'm that little person that had a business that was going. It was a catering truck, a mobile catering truck. And then how did I lose it? The invaders were able to go ahead and they don't pay taxes, insurance, or anything. They're able to use their food stamps to cook their food in their homes, which I wasn't allowed to. I had to pay a $500 government fee on a state kitchen to be able to do my food, et cetera, and couldn't do it at home. Illegal. I'm just saying it was not, in other words, our government and my government enforced it. I remember, it frustrates me that you guys don't look at, the day-to-day, everyday person and how it has impacted.
See, Mary,
and
I
I'm
think
not
we
the
are,
only
but,
one.
Mary, we are looking at the day-to-day impact, and the idea being the day-to-day impact is going to be higher prices. That's what the CEO of Lowe's has said recently. Said 40% of their products are imported, and if Trump implements all these tariffs, that means 40% of the stuff that you buy at Lowe's is going to go up. And the CEO of Walmart says consumers must prepare themselves for higher prices based on the Trump
I'm
tariffs.
saying
we are
I
talking
agree.
about it. Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I do believe that Canada and Mexico, and you can put China in there too, that if we start putting pressure upon them, they will stop the drugs from coming in here. With the cartels and all the stuff, it's so large.
But how much, Mary?
And
but how much
unfortunately, it's always about the money.
But Trump says zero. How do we get to zero on that?
And I guess I don't really feel it'll be zero.
Well, idea, and then
And
this
I mean,
is the idea.
that's what you guys do.
I know.
You'll
Mary,
go, if he got 99.9%, you'd still bitch and say he didn't get 100%.
This is the reason. No, it's not. I'm not going to bitch about it. But this is why I say that him setting that level at zero is a problem. Because then if he's not going to achieve zero, then we must say Trump is willing to allow X amount of illegal drugs into the country.
Oh, no, he's not. He's not willing to what?
If he's not
willing to allow?
If he's not,
like I said,
hold on.
If he gets 90%, he will not get credit for it.
No, here's the idea. He shouldn't start. He shouldn't start with a zero. He should have started, if he was negotiating it, he should have started at 50. Because now we can look at incremental change, but he starts with zero.
No,
and if we don't achieve zero,
and you've never read
failed.
The Art of the Deal. This is classic Trump. This is exactly where he starts, and then he's able to achieve these deals. Mary, really appreciate the call.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
We got to get to news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning. By the way, Mary, I love you. That was fantastic. And I am so sorry for the loss of your son. And thank you for always bringing this back to real life scenarios. Really appreciate that. All right. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, shoot for perfection and achieve excellence. That's what Trump is doing.
Yeah.
I agree with you on Mary. 29 and cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is no longer accepting requests for personalized greetings through Cameo.
Did she get so many? Is that why?
Well, no, she joined the celebrity video service over the weekend requesting $250 or more for each birthday greeting, pep talk, or question answered. And then analysts speculated that using Cameo to make money may violate house rules, ethics rules.
Hold on. Freaking Nancy Pelosi makes trillions of dollars off of insider trading. And yet Laura Boebert is the problem.
Yes, exactly. So she traded stocks and had insider trading. She became a billionaire overnight, or 100 millionaire. That would be okay. Yep, I was thinking the same thing.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that
It's a
just tees it
double
up.
standard,
Laura
man.
Boebert's gonna get $250 a pop to wish somebody happy birthday, but that's the problem.
Absolutely. Say MAGA over the video and you're slapped down by the house ethics rules. So let's get on it. Let's find out all those inside traders and get after it, since they're so concerned about the ethics.
There will be record-breaking number of travelers at airports nationwide.
Some 80 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home for Thanksgiving starting today, according to AAA. Some travelers will be heading off into rainy weather and heavy snow.
And if you're traveling on the Wednesday before or the Friday after Thanksgiving, I would strongly recommend that you add another hour to that time. When you are on the highway at 5 in the afternoon, it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to be slow. And the reason is volume. That's what we're seeing at airports nationwide, just sheer volume.
Patty Mancha of TSA, and they expect to screen 18.3 million airline passengers between today and the Monday after Thanksgiving. The Israeli cabinet is set to approve a ceasefire deal with the Iran-backed militant group or terrorist group Hezbollah today. That's according to a spokesperson for Prime Minister Netanyahu. A judge has agreed to dismiss President-elect Trump's federal election interference case. Special counsel Jack Smith filed a motion Monday to drop the felony charges connected with DJT's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Smith said the charges had to be dismissed before Trump takes office in January because of a Justice Department policy that sitting presidents won't be prosecuted. An expansion of coverage for weight loss drugs is being proposed by President Biden. His administration proposed a new rule on Tuesday that would require Medicare and Medicaid to offer coverage of medications like Ozempic, whatever these other ones are, Mounjaro. I don't even know how to pronounce the other one, but Ozempic is one of them. DJT's new border czar will head to the Texas-Mexico border today. Tom Homan will visit a 1,400-acre ranch in Starr County, where the state is offering a place to hold illegal immigrants awaiting deportation. Republican Governor Greg Abbott will be on hand to meet with Homan, along with a coalition of officials from the Border Patrol and other law enforcement departments. Homan talked about Denver Mayor Mike Johnston on Fox last night.
Yeah, absolutely breaking law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail because they're.
And here's the mayor on 9 News last night.
Are you open to sending Denver police officers?
Oh, great. And it just
No, I made
Yes,
a mistake. I'm walking back my comments.
Yeah.
I do want to point this out, though.
He
This is
kind of
important.
walked it back, though. You know, he said there's always, he kind of left it open. Hey, there's a potential. If we need to do that, we will. Go ahead. What
Well,
are you saying?
I want to remind everybody that the city of Denver put up a large banner, said, "Welcome immigrants," and welcomed 40,000.
Yes.
In those immigrants that we spent nearly $100 million on, I believe, we gave them debit cards, housing for 6 months in apartment complexes. We also provided lawyers and workforce training. Then the people of Denver voted to allow non-citizens to become police officers. And then the mayor of Denver City is going to order said police officers to stop federal immigration officials. It's almost like the term Denzuela is actually becoming true. It's like becoming little Venezuela.
That's
We brought in all these people and we made them the police force, and then we turn them against federal law enforcement officials. It's like it's its own little Venezuela country.
No doubt. So let's hear from the mayor again here. Hopefully.
Are you open to sending Denver police officers to the county line to stop federal forces or National Guardsmen from other states from coming into Denver?
We have no plan to do that. And we really hope that we don't ever have to do that. I think
no plan,
but
are you open to it?
What we're going to do right now is, it's hard to keep an eye on what the future president actually plans to do and what the proposal actually is.
It sounds to me like you're walking back the comments from a couple days ago saying that you would be willing to send Denver police officers. Do you regret making those comments and now getting questions like this?
Would I have taken it back if I could? Yes, I probably wouldn't have used that image because that's an image I hope we can avoid. What I was trying to say is this is an outcome I hope we can avoid.
You are exactly right,
Well,
Jeff.
and Denzuela. And then I also want to remind people that Mike Johnston is a rich kid from Vail. He is going to last 2 seconds in jail. The idea he's going to go to jail and become Nelson Mandela on behalf of illegal immigrants is just totally wrong. He is a rich kid from Vail who has lived a very cushy life. This is not going to happen.
I agree with you. Hey, I didn't get to this, Jeff. On Monday, the View's Sunny Hostin found out her ancestors were slave owners. No way.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
You think?
How about we don't blame people for what their ancestors did 3 generations, 4 generations, 400 years before they were even alive? Can we just stop doing that? Can we move on?
Right, move on. Gosh. Yeah, maybe this will be a huge blessing here. But DJT is the racist, and he's the dictator and the fascist.
I think I saw that out of all presidents, he was the only one that didn't have ancestors that were slave owners at one point.
That's correct.
Is that right?
I saw that as well. Oh man,
Sunny Hostin just getting.
And you're right. Hey, she did another one of those legal statements. Disclaimers. She had. I think she's up to 3 now.
That's
great. It could be 4.
Best television ever.
It is. It's great. Don't stop. 27 in Parker, 26 in Arvada, 29 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue Tuesday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Thickening and increasing clouds across the Front Range today will make the upper 40s and low 50s. There will be a chance for a few rain or snow showers developing later today. Tonight, a chance of light snow becoming likely, especially late. Lows will be down to the lower 30s, and it will be cloudy and cold. A chance of snow on Wednesday. Highs in the 30s. Could see some accumulations. Then clearing Wednesday night, teens. Thanksgiving Day, sunny but cold, highs 30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Good morning. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS. We're going to talk to Mark Hillman about debt and budgets and whether or not we're ever going to dig our way out of this giant deficit hole. But first, I've got a way for you to dig out of the hole that you're suffering from each and every day. It's the idea of that daily pain. Okay, now let's talk about when you were younger. Remember when you were younger running around and not want to take a nap? You remember how you'd wake up sometimes in the morning and just be ready to take on the day and just run around? There are times in which your parents were like, just sit down and be still for a second. And now today, you get the middle of the afternoon and you're feeling tired, feeling worn out. You wake up the next morning and you're like, I just got 8 hours of sleep and I feel like I need another 8. It's because the hormones in our bodies change as we age. Not surprisingly, just like, when you start pulling oil out of the ground, eventually you get a diminishing return. There's less and less oil in that reserve. There's less and less hormones that your body can produce. And I have got the solution for you. You got to talk to my friends at Balance Wellspace. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. They're hosting an open house on Tuesday, December 3rd, 5 p.m., complimentary wine, cheese, and crackers. And they want to talk to you about all the stuff they do, but most importantly, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. The idea is they take the hormones that are just the exact same ones that are in your body, and they put them back into you, and you feel amazing. I've had this happen a couple of times with them, and it's wonderful. It's really non-invasive, and it really recharges your batteries. All of a sudden, you feel like you're in your mid-20s again. And the best part about it is you're not having that fatigue. You're not having that brain fog. You're not feeling worn out by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're begging for a nap. So contact my friends at Balance Wellspace. The cool thing with Balance Wellspace, it's integrative medicine. They do a whole bunch of things under one roof. Chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and so much more. They've got some cutting-edge, non-invasive Star Trek stuff that really has to be seen to be believed. Contact them at balancewellspace.com. Brand new offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. As we're talking right now, I'm regenerating the meniscus in my left knee and regenerating one of the discs in my lower back. 2 of my vertebrae had started to fuse together. We are now correcting that with their non-invasive medicine. No cutting, no stitching, no surgery recovery, but I feel better than I have in years. When I was out shoveling snow the other day, it was my snow shovel that was giving out, not my bum back where I had surgery a number of years ago. That's remarkable. And I want them to have the opportunity to take care of you as well. They'll create a custom pain plan and reevaluate you every couple of weeks to make sure you're going in the direction you need to. But they can't do it unless you talk to them first. Reach out today, balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. Reserve your space December 3rd, 5 p.m. It's a Tuesday. Complimentary wine and cheese. You get to meet the entire crew and kind of browse around the place to see if it's a right fit for you. And when you contact them, please tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show because it helps us out. So we appreciate it.
That's great to hear, Bill. Well, I got interesting audio. All right, we're back.
Sorry. My copy pushed your volume way up higher than it should have been. So sorry about that.
Shouting out across the mountaintops. Well, there's a few people that I absolutely adore. One of them are farmers. I just think there's a common sense about farmers that it keeps this country together in the midst of the chaos. He's not only a farmer, he's a conservative. He's a former state treasurer. He's a former Senate majority leader here in Colorado. He's got a great piece out on national debt and the problems it's going to bring to us, to future generations. And he joins the Jeff and Bill Show. Mark Hillman, thanks so much for being on the program.
Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good to be with you.
So you got a piece on your blog, markhillman.com. National debt is silent threat to America's security. Tell us about it.
Well, that's something everybody talks about, kind of like the weather, but nobody does anything about it. In fact, the last president that I can remember that even talked about addressing the debt was George W. Bush, and that lasted about 9 months until 9/11 happened, and then we got into wars, and the debt began to explode under Bush, and it exploded further under Obama and his stimulus, and more under Trump and COVID, and more so still under Biden and COVID. So our national debt right now is approaching $30 trillion. And to put that in context, the annual federal budget is about $6 trillion. So we've borrowed essentially 5 years worth of federal budgets over the years. And that's the money that we owe both to ourselves, to people who are going to receive Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, as well as we owe to people who have bought bonds to help us finance our debt. And it is so big that it is it's 98% of our gross domestic product. In other words, it's 98% of everything Americans generate in 1 year. So if we went for 1 year and we simply gave all the money that we earned, all the money that our companies made to government, we could pay down the debt. But during that year, we wouldn't have anything to eat. We wouldn't be able to drive our vehicles because we couldn't buy fuel. We couldn't heat or cool our homes. We'd all be dead at the end of the year. That's how serious this problem is. And yet it's easy to ignore because so far our chickens haven't come home to roost. In the long run, sooner or later, it will make the U.S. dollar unreliable as the world's currency. And when that happens, our lives as Americans and our ability to live in a unique prosperity will change completely and probably forever.
Well, and that's what I'm concerned about, what that chicken's coming home to roost is going to look like, right? Because I brought this up on the show multiple times. Okay, what's the difference between 20 trillion in debt versus 25 trillion in debt? It didn't seem to affect my life all that much, and I think that's how most people view this, is they just kind of plug along. But there's got to be a cliff. Right? We can't just continue to drive this debt and debt and debt. And then when we go over that cliff, what is it going to look like? Is it going to look like we can't pay Social Security? We can't pay Medicare. We can't pay these mandates that are out there. And is it going to make 2008 look like a picnic economically in this country? What do you think, Mark Hillman, former state treasurer here in Colorado?
I think it would definitely dwarf the Great Recession that we had in 2008, 2009. The issue that we're looking at is right now, for the first time, the interest that we pay simply on the borrowing cost to finance that $30 trillion is now larger than what we spend every year on national defense. It's larger than what we spend on Medicare and Medicaid. When you have that much, when you have $1 trillion out of your $6 trillion budget that is spent simply on borrowing costs, you're limiting your ability to do things that are important. You're limiting your ability to put money into national defense, to secure yourself against real threats like China, like Iran. We're also limiting our ability if we get into another situation like COVID. We're that much closer to a tipping point if the government decides that it needs to spend money on some sort of short-term, hopefully, stimulus project. Again, we're just piling that on. And who winds up paying for that? It's our kids, because we're making decisions now with money that's not ours. And they're the ones who have less freedom, less flexibility, less opportunity in the future, because the more that the government competes for interest, the more that drives interest rates up, and it makes it more expensive for us to buy or to get loans and to pay interest on things like buying a home, buying a car, expanding a business. So it's why it's so important that we get this under control. But truly, it is one of the few things out there that really requires Republicans and Democrats alike at some point to stop passing the buck and hoping that everything blows up on somebody else's watch, because I think when it blows up, it's not going to be something that just devastates the party in power. It's going to be something that's devastating to us as Americans.
Talking to Mark Hillman, former state treasurer here in Colorado, former Senate majority leader. So, Mark, Republicans have control for the most part coming up here in the executive and the House. They don't have a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, but they're going to have a lot of control. Now, I'm about as MAGA as you can get, but there's two things about Donald Trump that I watch with a weary eye. One, his commitment to the sanctity of life. I want to make sure that Republicans don't become just Democrats when it comes to the commitment to the sanctity of life. But number two is spending. And Trump was not great in his first term on spending. Are we going to see anything? And I'm talking about actual big changes. The fact that we can't even get rid of PBS off of our books, or the National Endowment of the Arts. Stupid little things that the federal government has no business paying for. It's not in the Constitution anywhere, and we continue to write checks to PBS like it's the 1950s. We can't even get those off the books, let alone address some of the very serious spending problems that we have in this country. Are Republicans going to take advantage of the next 2 years in your perspective?
Well, looking at the last 20 years, it's not encouraging for either party. But by the same token, the fact that they've created this new non-governmental Department of Government Efficiency could be encouraging. And while Donald Trump says he's not going to do anything to address Social Security or Medicaid, or Medicare rather, at other times he will also say that we have to get the deficit under control. So if I want to be optimistic, and I do want to be optimistic, if you look at his opportunity to downsize government and the lip service, at least that he has given to getting the debt under control, there may be an opportunity. And the fact that the U.S. Senate needs 60 votes to do anything meaningful is actually good because, as I said, Republicans can't just do this on their own. Democrats need some buy-in as well. And this is really one of those things where both sides have to get something that they need or something that they can feel satisfied with, but it also has to be a long-term solution that the next president can't simply roll back. Because from what I've read, if we would simply slow down the rate of growth in our spending and allow our economy to grow fast enough, we could begin to turn the corner on debt. We had a debt this big back right after World War II, but of course that debt was incurred because we were defending freedom and democracy. And when the war was over, we stopped spending so much money on the military, our economy grew, and in 10 years, the deficit had been reduced from over 100% of our economy to about 50% of our economy. The problem is right now, we're not spending money on investments that are going to guarantee our security. In fact, we're making ourselves less secure because we're just borrowing and pretending the government is Santa Claus.
Mark Hillman, former state treasurer and a former Colorado senator, joining Jeff and Bill live. I want to talk about a couple of things. One, we have a new president-elect who during his previous election cycle trumpeted that he was the king of debt. Nobody knew more about debt or was able to manage it better than him. Do we trust the king of debt to be the one that will actually reduce our debt when that's really not his game plan? It's the first one I've got for you. Do we trust him?
Well, I don't really trust anybody in Washington to tackle the debt until I see evidence that they do it. So the only way it's going to happen, I believe, is for the public to believe it's important, and the public probably has to be frightened into doing that. So that's not going to happen immediately. Or secondly, for someone around him whose opinion he trusts to convince him that he needs to take steps so that this doesn't happen during his 4 years in office. Because he certainly is very much attuned to what is my legacy going to be. And while he never planned on COVID and he couldn't really control that, I think he recognizes that was sort of what he was saddled with at the end of his first 4 years. I think he wants to look at what his legacy is going to be when he's done at the end of these next 4 years. Am I optimistic? No, and that's not because so much Donald Trump as much as it is just the way Washington works. But I also know that it's imperative. So I have to hope that there is someone close to Donald Trump who recognizes that we can't simply continue to do things the way that we have been.
Interesting. Mark Hillman, former state treasurer and Colorado senator, joining Jeff and Bill live. I'm skeptical, since he operates in a world of debt, that he will see the value in operating without debt. But I think you're absolutely right that Washington is the largest impediment right now. I don't think that there are any lawmakers on either side that really want to do what we need to in order to get our spending under control. Trump and the current administration talks about rebuilding our military, yet we've seen that the Pentagon can't do an audit. They can't somehow manage to audit themselves. They've lost billions of dollars. And we had a story here on the show a couple of weeks ago where the acquisition process led to our military buying soap dispensers for planes at over $180,000. It was like 80 times more expensive than what they would have paid in the private market. And that is part of the problem. And I'm very concerned about this. And this is why I want to ask you, Mark Hillman, is for years, we've heard about our politicians that are going to go to Washington and they're going to find the waste and they're going to find the excess spending and they're going to cut it out. Well, why haven't they been able to do it? Why after all these years? I'm certain as long as you've been alive, you've heard that promise. I have heard that promise for years, as long as I have been a voter. Why can't those elected officials that promise us they're going to go to Washington and find all that waste, why is it so hard to find?
I think because the political incentives are all wrong. Nobody gets to name the elimination of fraud and waste. Gets to put their name on the elimination of fraud and waste. But if you go pass a bill to create a state park, or you build a bridge or whatever, you can, as a congressman or a senator, you can make sure that that's named after yourself. You can take credit for it. This is one of those thankless jobs that everybody is going to fearmonger that, oh, you're going to take away my Social Security, which is totally not necessary. Or you're going to harm Medicare, which is not necessary. But it's a thankless job that needs to be done. And sadly, we get the government that we deserve. If Americans don't prioritize getting our debt under control, then there's no reason for politicians to do so.
Mark Hillman, I got a proposal for you here. I think you're absolutely right. And I appreciate you outlining the debt. And I just don't think that here's the problem. I think fundamentally that the average consumer hasn't experienced a difference in their life over, the entire time of their adulthood with the deficit being larger. They haven't felt any pain points themselves. And so I think that's why, we talked about the economy earlier in the show, and that's what we saw voters. Voters were mad about inflation in the economy because they saw it in their own pocketbook. They saw it in the balance sheet. They saw it with the food they put on the table and not being able to afford rent or housing. But the debt as it increases doesn't have that direct impact on us. So just brainstorming here, Mark Hillman, last question for you. Do you think we're selling it wrong? And what I mean by that is, could we instead stop talking about, hey, this is going to be a debt bomb later on down the road for future America to worry about? What if instead we talk about it this way? The debt is allowing China to subsidize their industries that then undercut American products and American goods. Part of the reason that BYD has been so successful coming out of China is because they're taking American dollars from our interest payments and funneling them back in as subsidies on the back end for BYD in order to let them control all the assets of production. BYD is the best and most successful EV maker on the planet right now, and they owe it in part to American dollars. Do you think that would change minds and hearts?
I think there's certainly a connection there that ought to be made, because our ability to respond to China, both economically and militarily, is burdened by the fact that one out of every $6 that we spend right now is spent on interest on the debt. So it's certainly one of the reasons that I think addressing the debt is terribly important. And the irony of the debt is, on the one hand, China is financing much of what it does by buying American debt. On the other hand, China also cannot afford for us to default on our debt because they own so much of it. So it is kind of a catch-22. But again, responsible government means we have to be prepared to react to both economic and military situations. And the debt and financing that debt is clearly an obstacle to us doing that right now. And you're right. I don't know when that debt bomb is going to explode, but I really don't want to be here when it doesn't. For that matter, I don't want to leave it to my kids either.
And I think for all of us going to visit family and spend time, and we're reminded about the fact that there are generations coming up, and the decisions that we're making today are directly affecting them. Mark Hillman, former state treasurer, former Senate Majority Leader, thank you so much for taking time to join us on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Jeff and Bill, happy Thanksgiving.
If you want to learn
Same to you,
more, he's
sir.
got a great newsletter. Go to markhillman.com, markhillman.com. He's got a great newsletter. He puts stuff out there from a number of great contributors here in Colorado. Look, for many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing, maybe hair loss as you feel, and your identity's lost altogether. Well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. Look, we've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? Imagine showing up around Christmas, New Year's with that new head of hair. You could shock everybody in your family and be awesome. It'll improve your life. From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to the world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls. It's not maybe will your hair regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. A judge has rejected a request to block a biological male from playing on the San Jose State women's volleyball team in a conference tournament after players filed a lawsuit. The ruling by a U.S. magistrate judge in Denver, Colorado, will allow the player to continue competing in the Mountain West Conference Women's Championship in Las Vegas this week. The ruling comes after the lawsuit was filed by 9 current players who are suing the Mountain West Conference, challenging the league's policies for allowing transgender players to participate. Macy's says it's delaying the release of its third quarter earnings results after it discovered accounting-related issue of about $154 million. The company did, however, provide some preliminary results, including that net sales fell 2.5% to $4.74 billion. It anticipates reporting its full third quarter financial results by December 11th. The retailer said that it identified an issue related to delivery expenses in one of its accrual accounts earlier this month. An independent investigation and forensic analysis found that a single employee with responsibility for small package delivery expense accounting intentionally made false entries to hide about $132 million to $154 million of expenses from the fourth quarter of 2021 through the quarter that ended November 2nd. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone lines. Frank Evergreen, good morning. Talking about debt and tariffs. What's on your mind?
Yeah, morning.
Hey, good morning. The only reason Harley Davidson exists today is because of the tariff that Ronnie Reagan put on motorcycles in 1983. Harley Davidson would be gone. The tariff gave them some breathing room, and now they're one of the strongest companies in America.
Is that because of the dominance of like Honda?
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, it's like cheap Japanese cars when they were coming in, same thing, and they targeted them and they went after Japanese import motorcycles and other ones. Yeah.
Wow.
He's
well,
right.
not all motorcycles, just the ones that were like Harleys, like the rice burners, the little pocket rockets they call them. They were not tariffed. Only the large, the ones that were like Harleys, because they were geared up to bring them in big time. And they're here now, but in the meantime, Harley Davidson was able to, get its act together. It was a terribly managed company, clearly, but Ronnie Reagan saved them, and they're a great company now. The other thing, real quick, I just wanted to mention, Jeff, your two concerns with Trump are the debt and abortion.
Yep.
And the debt, here we go again. He's not even president yet. He's already getting blamed for the debt. Give me a break.
I think it's warranted after his first term, and it's a fair critique, isn't it?
Did you forget about that little thing called COVID that happened, or was that not important anymore?
I did, but I think he listened too much to progressives on COVID with the shutdowns and lockdowns. Remember, it was 2 weeks to slow the spread, and then it continued. I don't think he opened up quick enough. All that.
It was a mess. COVID was also his fault, by the way. The other thing is on abortion. I can't believe you would even mention negatively his name on abortion, because he's the only reason people were actually talking about a real solution. He gave us the solution with his Supreme Court appointments, and without him, we still be, every state in the nation would be crushing babies' heads as they exit the womb. Unless,
do you think though? Do you think
does.
he's going to be comfortable putting pro-life leaders into place in his administration?
Of course, yeah.
Because there's articles in Politico. There's
right?
articles in Politico that guys like Roger Severino, who are great, are not getting senior level positions because they're too pro-life.
Well, who knows? I just answer your question the way I believe. I can't parrot all these people who are trying to blame Trump for everything before he's even president again. So here's the thing. He got the ball rolling on abortion. It's up to us, individual states, to keep it moving. And it may or may not. I don't know. But the thing is with abortion. Colorado is a destination abortion state now. It's awesome. Isn't that just like being a destination ski state? And
it's a disaster.
You
get a 2-for-1 package.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Here's the thing: is that the people who think it's okay they wouldn't kill a baby themselves, but it's okay if somebody else kills them. That thinking is so absurd to me.
Yeah.
That's like Democrats in the Civil War saying, "Well, I wouldn't lynch a black man, but it's okay if somebody else does."
No, Frank, the logic works. I'm with you on that. I really appreciate the call. We're just up against a break. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to Frank, Denver. Good morning, Frank.
Hey, I love you guys' session. I just got to comment on this tariff thing. It's way more complicated than anybody makes out. I mean, Trump has the master amount of information from the CIA filtering in real time all the time. He's using this obviously as a tool to control both Mexico and China, and Mexico is China's tool right now, and we're paying a terrible cost with fentanyl and lots of other things. Tariffs are not permanent. They're just a temporary thing to kind of try to whip people in order. To Billy's point, I think, Billy, you're a good parent, sounds like, but I can't imagine that you would not want to discipline your kids or your snakes. I don't think you'd go home and tell them, well, kids, all the rules of my house are off, and I'm going to take the tops off the snake cages and tip them over and just let everybody do what they want. So that's what I think Trump is trying to achieve. It's a gigantic
Frank, that's
task.
great. I just wish we had more.
Actually. Frank, I
really
admit.
appreciate it. You're listening to the
Kinda like
Jeff and
that
Bill
idea.
Show.
KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The New York Attorney General's office fined Geico Insurance $9.75 million in a day. At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. The New York Attorney General's office fined Geico Insurance $9.75 million in a data breach that exposed the personal information of 116,000 drivers in the state. The Attorney General said Geico and Travelers Insurance violated state data protection rules by failing to implement policies that would protect customers' information. Both companies were hacked during the COVID-19 pandemic amid a wave of cyber attacks that were looking for information like driver's license numbers to be used in unemployment scams. Travelers will pay $1.55 million for a breach that exposed information on around 4,000 people, the agency said. The two companies agreed to take measures to improve their cybersecurity practices. A judge has pushed back his decision on whether to resentence Eric and Lyle Menendez until January, saying he needed time to review 17 boxes of documents. The brothers were convicted of killing their parents in their Beverly Hills mansion 35 years ago. He did, however, let the brothers' aunts take the stand. They both testified on their behalf as the brothers looked to have their 1989 convictions re-examined in the shotgun murders of their parents Jose and Kitty Menendez. They argued the convictions should be revisited because of new evidence of sex abuse by the brothers' father. The brothers were sentenced to life without parole. In Dallas, Christina Awayo, Salem News Channel.
was a good one. Back to the Jeff and Bill Show.
We have so much fun.
It is 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. It's Tuesday, November 26th. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Thank you to everybody that's been calling in. Holy cow, full phone lines, text messages coming in, debates on tariffs, debt, Trump's plan, drugs, fentanyl, illegal immigration, my goodness, plus everything that's been happening in Colorado. We like to put ourselves on the national stage in our stupidity oftentimes.
Yes. Hey, pay attention to me. And recently, Denver mayor's raised his hand. Thank you so much.
We've got a whole lot this hour. Phone lines are open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, Dr. Donald Sweden is going to join us, the Chancellor of Colorado Christian University. Just giving everybody a little reminder out there as to what we're actually celebrating during Thanksgiving. By the way, my poll, are you going to talk politics at the dinner table? Yes, no, or MAGA all the time? Guess which one won, Bill?
MAGA.
MAGA all the time. That is exactly right.
I just want to know if you show up with a hat. Are we pre-announcing this, or are we just going to kind of subtly slide it into when we're passing the yams? I'm just curious about how this goes.
232 votes, MAGA all the time, winning 43.1%. Yes and no, exactly tied at 28.4%.
Those are my people.
So Mary asked me to put up a poll. This is brilliant. I'll do it a little bit here in a second. Yeah. Are you willing to pay more via tariffs in order to stop illegal immigration and drugs?
Interesting. That's
a great idea, Mary. So we'll put that up.
Good
Thanks for texting that in.
Thanks,
on
Mary.
the line. Before we get to Blake and news and comment, I want to talk to you about our friends over at Empower Home. This is a shocking statistic. 49% of homes listed did not sell with the real estate agent who took the initial listing. 49%. That means you went through the whole rigmarole of negotiating the deals and the percentages with the real estate agent. You took the pictures, you put them up on the website, you had the open houses, and then it didn't sell and you had to go find somebody else to sell the home. Why not just go with the pros at the beginning? Look, this is a business deal for your family. It's about getting the most money, hiring somebody because they're your friend or family member, or neighbor to sell your home. You got to go with the best. That's Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams, who have a track record of selling homes fast. They get their home sellers 6.1% more money on average. That means $30,500 more in their pocket. They do this using their proven proprietary systems and guarantees. Go with the team that doesn't just make empty promises, but can actually provide proof of their experience and a track record of getting homes sold for top dollar. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team is so confident in the service they provide and the results that they can get you that if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time. No cost to you. This is called their cancellation promise. Just give them a call. Talk about all the options of selling your home at 833-301-SOLD, 833-301-SOLD, or visit gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. Let's check in on news and comment with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. It's 34 and partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 50 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
It is going to be a little chaotic on the I-70 corridor. Consider changing plans altogether just as a function of that snow causing choked up highways and slowdowns. We know the worst of the snow is going to come in Tuesday. It might linger into Wednesday. So functionally, it's the perfect storm.
Skylar McKinley, Regional Director, AAA. Heavy snow could impact Thanksgiving travel plans for thousands of Coloradans. He's concerned about the commute on I-70 through the mountains this week. Snow should begin falling in the mountains today and last through tomorrow. Up to 2 feet of snow could fall in areas like Aspen and Vail Pass, with lesser amounts in the foothills and the metro area. The Colorado Department of Transportation says the road conditions will be hazardous, especially on I-70 mountain in the mountain corridor, and some road closures are possible. Drivers should delay or stay away from higher elevations until the storm passes. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston said last week that police and community members would station themselves on the county line to keep the military out of Denver if they came to enforce a DJT mass deportation order. He was on 9 News on Monday.
Are you open to sending Denver police officers to the county line to stop federal forces or National Guardsmen from other states from coming into Denver?
We have no plan to do that. And we really hope that we don't ever have to do that. I think
No plan,
we have
but are
no
you
pl-
open to it?
What we're going to do right now is, it's hard to keep an eye on what the future president actually plans to do and what the proposal actually is.
It sounds to me like you're walking back the comments from a couple days ago saying that you would be willing to send Denver police officers. Do you regret making those comments and now getting questions like this?
Would I have taken it back if I could? Yes, I probably wouldn't have used that image because that's the image I hope we can avoid. What I was trying to say is this is an outcome I hope we can avoid in this country. I think none of us want that.
And new border czar Tom Homan last night on Fox.
Yeah, absolutely breaking law. All you have to do look at Arizona versus U.S. You'll see these breaking law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail.
And Homan is at the southern border today with the governor of Texas. Former state treasurer Mark Hillman on the show last hour. He's written about the $30 trillion debt in the states, and he feels like DOGE may help. Bottom line, we need to address it now for our kids and grandkids.
The issue that we're looking at is right now, for the first time, the interest that we pay simply on the borrowing cost to finance that $30 trillion is now larger than what we spend every year on national defense. It's larger than what we spend on Medicare and Medicaid.
A federal judge in Denver says a San Jose State volleyball player can play in the upcoming women's conference tournament despite allegations she's transgender. U.S. District Judge S. Cato Cruz allowed the player, who's been a part of the team all season long, to compete in the Mountain West Conference tournament in Vegas. The decision follows a lawsuit from 9 players challenging the conference's rules that allow transgender athletes to play, arguing it could be unsafe and unfair, and I agree with them. Neither San Jose State nor the teams that might forfeit have confirmed whether the player is transgender. A 7-year-old boy who was allegedly abducted in Lakewood has been found. The boy was found safe outside of Last Chance. That's very eerie. Following an Amber Alert on Monday, Lakewood PD responded to an incident at an apartment involving a man identified as the child's dad with a gunshot wound. An investigation found that the child missing from the apartment, believing that the suspect took the child. The suspect, identified as Crystal Denman, was taken into custody without incident, and she is not the child's biological mother. And potential charges are unknown. Authorities do consider her a suspect in the shooting. Scott Jennings, once again, wrecks the journalists on CNN again. They don't believe in free speech at all. And they are the moral authority.
That happens on X. Please don't give me the eyebrow furrow as if you don't know what I'm talking about. It happens often on X. I can go and say the color is blue, and I will be met with so many disrespectful remarks. No one's regulating the N-word. No one's regulating the criticism. No one is regulating how people are treated.
How much
or
government
the
regulation
lies.
of the First Amendment are you for?
Let me tell you something. If I came on here and I just started calling you all kind of names, do you think the bosses would let me continue to do that?
I mean, it happens
I
to me
mean,
occasionally. I don't know if you
well,
watch
it
the
doesn't
show.
happen to you, but it doesn't happen
does
for me.
happen.
And I know that I wouldn't be able to do that. There's a level of professionalism in what we do here because we are journalists and we adhere to something, at least morally. And there is no moral compass on this thing called.
And then she says that Bill Gates is not insane like Elon Musk. So there you have it, CNN. And Scott Jennings continues to do an outstanding job for the conservative voice in America. 29 in Castle Rock, 30 in Lakewood, 34 in Denver. Don't forget the radio parade tomorrow with Peter Boyles and Billy. Jeff and Bill continue Tuesday morning. Blake Olson News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Thickening and increasing clouds across the Front Range today will make the upper 40s and low 50s. There will be a chance for a few rain or snow showers developing later today. Tonight, a chance of light snow becoming likely, especially late. Lows will be down to the lower 30s, and it will be cloudy and cold. A chance of snow on Wednesday. Highs in the 30s. Could see some accumulations. Then clearing Wednesday night, teens. Thanksgiving Day, sunny but cold, highs 30s. Weather sponsored by Colorado's Best Roofing, reminding you to protect your home from the harsh Colorado weather and schedule your free, no-obligation roof inspection today at roofingcolorado.com. That's roofingcolorado.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to talk to Dr. Donald Sweeting, Chancellor of CCU, here in just a second. Speaking of Colorado Christian University, do you know a high school student passionate about engaging in cultural and political issues? The knowledge and skills needed to impact the world through civic engagement is an ever-increasing need in today's society. Colorado Christian University is at the forefront of meeting this crucial need, equipping the next generation of competent, convictional Christian leadership in American politics. CCU's degree program in politics, with an emphasis in public policy, prepares students for the complex challenges of modern politics from an unapologetically Christian and foundationally conservative worldview. In this distinct program, students learn how to impact public policy and advance Christian conservative ideas. Colorado Christian University also houses the Centennial Institute, a think tank committed to mobilizing ideas on faith, family, and freedom to strengthen America's future. CCU's mission to produce graduates who impact the world with grace and truth applies in no greater measure than to our politics and public policy program. Apply today at ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. So, reminder, tomorrow, Peter Boyles is hosting the Imaginary Thanksgiving Day Parade. This is a fun thing that Billy and Pete do from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. where people come by.
Yeah, they're already, we've got Mark Crowley and all the extra workers here at KNUS. Their large parade staff is down there building the review stand. We're going to have certain locations throughout downtown in which we are going to have the ability for some of our listeners to describe exactly what's going on at the parade. We're hoping that someone is going to join us and going to be in the staging area to talk to us about what's going on. We have no idea who's going to be Santa Claus. That is always a huge reveal right at the end. And of course, we have received through the grapevine threats from Mayor Mike Johnston that he's worried about us getting near that Denver County line. So he might need us somewhere.
He might have the police there.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful,
you guys.
it's a wonderful morning where we skewer all sacred cows. Basically, as long as you stay away from the FCC naughty words, we're good, my friends. We're good. So if there's something that's been in your cross, someone that you want to take aim at, and let's do it creatively, let's put them in the parade. Something that you have heard, a local story, a national story, something that's just been on your mind. How are you going to deal with it? And of course, any of those sacred cows here and around the state of Colorado are always fair game. So yeah, we will step off smartly tomorrow morning right around 6 o'clock. It'll be great.
There's a lot this Thanksgiving week, right? Yeah. You're visiting friends and family, people coming in. You've got the parade. You got the imaginary parade that 710 KNUS is going to do tomorrow with Pete Boyles and Bill Thorpe. But then there's actually the real purpose of Thanksgiving. And I can't think of anyone better to just remind us, dive in the midst of all the fun, to remind us about what we're really doing here, why presidents found this as important, and why it's important to take time to thank God for all the wonderful blessings we got. That's the Chancellor of Colorado Christian University, Dr. Donald Sweeting. Chancellor, thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Great to be with you guys. Happy Thanksgiving week.
So, a lot of us, even in our own family, want to jump all the way to Christmas or kind of engage in the fun festival side of Thanksgiving, but there's a real important spiritual side to this. Remind us about that.
Yeah, well, I love Christmas. I love Thanksgiving, but I can't run to Christmas until I go through Thanksgiving. It's a great way to end the year. You think about all you experienced this year, and it's a time to sum it up and just reflect on the blessings of your life. And that's really important. It keeps us humble. It keeps us sane. And then we're we approach Christmas with a little bit better spirit. How about you?
Well, I think you're exactly right. And presidents found that the Thanksgiving holiday was important. And they weren't just Christian nationalists trying to force, their religion upon everybody. But this is part of our spiritual inheritance in this country. Can you reflect a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's some naysayers about Thanksgiving because it's also Indigenous People Day, and look, I think Indigenous people should give thanks too. So the Pilgrim story is a great part of American history, but the origins of Thanksgiving go back even beyond that. As you know, there are lots of debates about the first Thanksgiving. Was it Plymouth Colony? Was it Jamestown? Was it Spanish in St. Augustine, Florida? But you know what? The Pilgrims actually looked to the Jews for a model, and they found it in the Jewish celebrations of the Harvest Festival, the Feast of Tabernacles, and they modeled so much after the Old Testament. So, and that's, what were the Jews doing? They were thanking God for their goodness, and they wrote lots of Psalms, bless the Lord, O my soul, forget not all of his benefits. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. So that's, I think, the real origin. It goes really back to Thanksgiving for the blessings of life and Scripture.
Talking to Dr. Donald Sweeting. He's the chancellor at Colorado Christian University. Now, Dr. Sweeting, you were a pastor for many years. What's an encouragement you can give to families on how they can practice, thanking God during Thanksgiving? What could they do around the dinner table? What could they gather as a family? What are some practical steps they could do to make sure that this doesn't just become conversations about football, politics, those types of things, but you're actually taking time to thank God for all the blessings in your life?
Well, I think we're all fighting the world so much in this, our own selfishness and a spirit of entitlement. And we try as parents to get our kids in an early age to even just say the word please and thank you. What a challenge that is. So I think I just want to affirm parents who do that. We have my daughter-in-law, we have a 2-year-old, and he's doing sign language of please and thank you. And I mean, that's just a beginning. For adults and older children, I mean, I think it's good to have a daily discipline of giving thanks. My wife and I have been in the habit at night, we thank God for 5 things. I've been trying to, when I go to church, bring a sacrifice of thanksgiving, just my own thanksgiving to the Lord for this week. And at Thanksgiving, the meal itself, here's something you can do. We put, and it's a New England custom, 5 kernels of corn at each place setting. And we go around the table and everybody gives thanks for some things, 5 things if they can. And it changes the course of the conversation from politics and football to something even more meaningful.
Talking to Dr. Donald Sweeting, chancellor at Colorado Christian University. Why is it important for America to keep its spiritual roots strong?
Because this is what keeps us humble. You read the oldest documents on Thanksgiving in the scriptures, in the Hebrew scriptures, in the Old Testament, like from the book of Deuteronomy. And God says to Israel, look, when you get into the land and you experience all these blessings, do not forget the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to create wealth. And this is our problem, is like the problem they had. We keep taking credit, and then we get proud and we get arrogant. And the Bible calls us back to humility. And humility is so important for our kids to learn. It's so important for our leaders to embrace, because the opposite is ugly and it's dangerous.
Now, Dr. Sweeting, what I want to know when we're sitting around and we're talking about Thanksgiving and we're trying to celebrate our blessings, what is your advice to our listeners to navigate, let's say, some of those difficult conversations around politics? We know that, okay, all of us have that one family member, and something's going to come up. Either they're going to be on one side or the other, and they're going to start stirring the pot. How do we approach that conversation and the time with the family with the grace and the support that it's needed? Because that's not the time to start the fight.
Right, Bill, that's a great question. I think it was Chesterton who said, you're not supposed to, in polite company, talk about politics or religion. He said, but I have to talk about it. What else is there? So I am not for avoiding those topics, but I think you can transcend them. So last year I was reading the Colorado Politics newspaper, and there was a list of small articles from both sides of the aisle
where everybody's being thankful for something. And I think you just start with the things you have in common, for the United States of America, for the freedoms that we enjoy. Our stores are full, for days of peace. Lift your eyes to those big things that whether you're on the left or on the right, you embrace. And they were embracing all these things in Colorado politics. I thought, how stunning.
Oh, Dr. Sweeting, that's amazing. Now, I want to make sure that all of our listeners in the Jeff and Bill show this morning, make sure that you listen to the Chancellor of Colorado Christian University and understand that when we're all gathering with friends and family around this Thanksgiving table, it is about the thanks. It's about those things that are common between us, not about those things that divide us. And if you have that family member or the friend who wants to open up and start the conversation about things that can divide you, do exactly what the doctor just recommended. Bring them back to being thankful. Probably the best way to avoid it. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Sweeting, I'm going to start a little bit of controversy here on the show with you. And that is going to be, I want to know two things. I want to know first, your favorite Thanksgiving dish that has to be on the table. And then after that, so do that first. And then I want to know what one you hate. But first, Dr. Sweeting, Dr. Charles Sweeting with Colorado Christian University, the chancellor there. What is your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Well, my mom made the best pumpkin pie in the universe. And it was a family recipe that came down through 3 generations. My wife can do it now. And Costco does not cut it. No store-bought thing cuts it. So it's definitely her pumpkin pie. And the homemade applesauce is a close second.
Ooh, that's awesome. In fact, those that joined us earlier in the show heard in the 6 o'clock hour how there was a small town in Connecticut that actually delayed celebrating Thanksgiving for a couple of weeks because the weather prevented the shipment of molasses to arrive in town, meaning they couldn't make the pumpkin pie. So the entire town decided, no pumpkin pie means no Thanksgiving. So we'll wait a couple of weeks until the molasses shows up so we can do it right with the pumpkin pie. You're thinking the same way. Okay, here's the big one, doctor, when we talk about causing that problems at Thanksgiving. What is that dish that you detest, that you see on the table that you're like, just don't pass that thing to me? What is it?
It's that's an easy one. It always has been, world without end, lima beans. I hate lima beans. The consistency makes me want to throw up the whole meal. So do not even let me look at them or it will ruin my meal.
What if we put it in Jell-O with some cottage cheese? How about that?
Oh, no. That won't work either.
Yeah, a friend of mine recently on social media shared the Jell-O with the fruit and stuff in it and the cottage cheese on there. And I'm like, oh, I can tell you, taste and smell that picture. My grandma used to make it. And it was awful.
I'm going to take Dr. Donald Sweeting in a little bit of a different direction. This might be a little bit more personal, but I consider you to be one of the wisest people I've ever met. And I appreciate so much, not only your friendship, but your leadership at Colorado Christian University. And I know you could probably speak a little bit of wisdom. People that have lost family members and possibly celebrating their first Thanksgiving without that family member at the dinner table. What's your encouragement to them through what could be a painful holiday?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm at my parents'. I lost both my mom and dad this fall. They died within 3 weeks of each other, and we're at the house packing things up. We're all gathered here to pack up the memories, and it's very sad and it's hard. But we're telling stories. We're telling the best stories. We're recalling the things we want to remember and keep in our hearts. Their memory is blessed, and we want to hang on to that memory. This is a good time to share it.
That's a good one, to kind of go around the table and talk about favorite memories of the people that have gone, especially if it's recent past, talking about things they enjoyed during the meal, things they look forward to at this time, and also maybe, the funniest memory. What was something that they had done that you really have held on to, a way they influenced your life or a way that they shined a light when you were facing a dark time?
Yeah, and we're finding letters, from my parents. They were married like 77 years. Unbelievable. Oh, wow. So I found this note from my mom, and she goes, "Oh, honey, you're so good. You're always quick to ask forgiveness when you messed up, and you had many times to do that." I just thought, okay, there we go.
Yes.
Dr. Donald Sweeting, Chancellor of Colorado Christian University. He writes a lot. He publishes a lot. He's got books. videos. He speaks regularly. You can see all of that at donsweeting.com, donsweeting.com. Thank you so much for taking time to remind all of us about what we're really doing this weekend and giving us practical tips on how to really celebrate, honor God, and remember our family members during this Thanksgiving season. Really appreciate your time, Dr. Donald Sweeting.
Thank you.
Great. Happy Thanksgiving to both of you.
Thank you. Well, Bill, something that I am really grateful for is that you are getting the health and support that you need through Balance Well Space. Billy's going to tell us a little bit about Balance Well Space.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of, we're talking about Thanksgiving, and you've got that person in your families we're talking about come over, and they're kind of a pain because of things they do. But I want to talk about a different pain. The pain you're feeling maybe while you're getting ready for the Thanksgiving dinner. You're bending down and you're trying to stretch into that back cabinet to find the roasting pan that you really haven't touched since, well, let's be honest, last Thanksgiving or Christmas. But you've got that pain. You've got that sciatica in your legs. You've got that numbness. You have the neuropathy. I have got the solution for you. I want you to talk to the team that has taken away the pain that I used to live in daily. Yeah, live my life every day in pain. Every time I woke up and got out of bed, it wasn't a matter of if I hurt. It was just a matter of how much. Balance Well Space. Check them out at balancewellspace.com. It's a medical team that's brand new here to Colorado. They just opened offices in Lowry, right across from Hangar 2. Plenty of parking, so easy to find. The difference is integrative medicine. What they do is they've got a wide variety of treatments they can do under one roof. So you come in, you get an evaluation, they take a look at what hurts, they ask you about what your goals are, what you want to be doing and what you haven't been doing, and then they go to work. We're talking about chiropractic care, neuropathic care, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, trigger point injections, and even hormone replacement. If it aches, if it hurts, if it tingles, they've got a solution for you. And the best is it's a custom pain plan. They come back every couple of weeks and they reevaluate how you're doing. Your current medical team isn't doing that. And you have a wonderful opportunity to go and talk to the team at Balance Well Space and see what they do. All you got to do is ring them, balancewellspace.com, find them at balancewellspace.com. They have an open house coming up on December 3rd, 5 p.m. That's a Tuesday. Complimentary wine and cheese. They're going to talk to you about bioidentical hormone replacement, plus some other treatments they have there. The hormone replacement is, how you feel tired and run down middle of the afternoon, you just need a nap, or you just have slept an entire day and you feel like you need another 8 hours, or you get that brain fog sometimes, and you're like, this never happened before when I was younger. No, it didn't, because your hormones were in balance. You had all the hormones in your body that you needed to, but just as everything else begins to wear down, so does your body making those hormones as we age. Your body's not making as many hormones. You feel tired, you feel foggy, you feel run down. That can be changed through Balance Well Space. They've done it for me a couple of times, and it's nothing short of remarkable. Not something you do every day or even every week. It's occasional based on your body and what you need. But go and talk to them, and you've got an opportunity to do it for free. December 3rd, Tuesday, 5 p.m., complimentary wine and cheese, but space is limited. Reserve your space at balancewellspace.com, balancewellspace.com. I want them to make the same change in your life they've made in mine. And when you reach out to them, tell them you heard about them here on the Jeff and Bill Show, because boy, does it help us out.
Absolutely. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour, I'm Christina Awayo in Dallas, and here are your top stories. President Donald Trump has vowed to impose an additional 10% in tariffs on goods from China and 20%.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. So my poll, inspired by Mary from Wyoming, who's just delightful. In light of Trump's tariff plan, are you willing to pay more for goods if it means ending illegal immigration and drug trafficking? So far in 26 minutes, 244 votes. This is all on x.com/Jeff Hunt. 92% saying yes.
Wow.
7.8% saying no. So vote there.
It's a great question from Mary.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it because it's emotional. It divides it in a very digestible manner and does acknowledge the higher prices and say that's what we're doing in order to do this. Are you willing to pay more out of your pocket in order to accomplish this? It's a great question. Thanks, Mary.
So you can go vote there or give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Campos Law text line at 720-819-5115. Speaking of Dan Campos, I adore this guy. Oh, please make him the mayor of Denver. Please make him the mayor of Denver. I know he's not running, but it would be so good. Or governor of Colorado. He'd do great at that. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. Well, that matters because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. You want to go in with a guy that's solid on the values, son of a police officer, former seminarian. He's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But all right, so he's a nice guy. Can he win cases? Absolutely. Listen to this. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Campos Law is so trusted that they're the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Campos Law is a serious firm for serious cases. You might be saying to yourself, I can't afford this guy. It's not true. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. Chances are you're on the side of the road right now to where you got to call Dan Campos. But put his phone number in your phone so that when you're in an accident and you're dealing with the police and you're dealing with the insurance companies and God forbid you have to deal with the ambulance or anything like that, you can quickly call Dan Campos and get an attorney on your side so you can navigate all of that well. Here's his phone number, okay? Dan Campos Law, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancamposlaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. Let's go to the phone lines. Gary, Denver. Good morning, Gary. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Oh, hi, Jeff and Bill. When I take a position on things, I like to understand why I take that position. And so I wanted the debt. Let's talk about the debt. Why do you think debt is a problem? In my mind, I'm thinking of personal debt. If I'm bringing in $100,000 of salary a year and I have debt, I wouldn't consider it a problem until, say, my debt was maybe $50,000 per year. That would, I'd have to pay $50,000 of interest a year out of my $100,000. Then I might think it's a problem. We're nowhere near that amount. And let me give you this argument about why the debt is not a problem. Who do we pay the interest on the debt to?
China creditors, so it'd be China and whoever else holds it, and some that's Mexico, some of that's Canada. There are other people as well, and sometimes it's also U.S. bond holders as well, because that's how we float it too.
And that's a key point. Right now, I Googled it, which, Jeff, you can also do to understand tariffs. All you need to do is Google who pays tariffs, and you'll see it's importers. But anyway, that's another subject. But anyway, 70% of the interest on the debt is paid to U.S. citizens who hold treasury bonds and notes. The other 30% is split primarily between 3 countries. Japan is the largest, China is the second, and Britain is the third. So 30% goes to foreigners, only about 10 to China.
I didn't know Britain held that much. Thank you for that, Gary. I had no clue. That's cool.
Yeah, you can Google it, and it gives you all the countries.
Gary,
so
you don't think that debt at 98% of GDP is a problem?
I I think GDP isn't the right measurement. And unless you can explain to me why that's a problem, I don't think it is, because let me explain this. If we're paying 70% of the interest to people like me, I'm pro debt because I'm currently earning 5.5% on a risk-free asset, that being a treasury bond. And, you know, I have an allocation, but anyway, that's very comfortable for me. And I take that money and I reinvest it. So it's not going to drive the price up because it's not going to create, you know, more dollars than goods. So why is that a problem if it's basically being
Because
paid
we
to
don't have the
you?
money to pay the bond.
Well, what you're going to have to do is borrow. That will increase the debt, and we'll buy more bonds. I'll buy more bonds. You'll be paying more interest to me. And until
Help me understand how that's a good thing. I know you end up with some money, but the government doesn't have the money, borrows the money in order to pay more and more debt. Eventually, that's a cliff, Gary.
right, and it's a matter of when it becomes a problem. And you're saying it's a problem when it gets to a certain percent of GDP. I don't understand that logic. Can you explain it to me? What is GDP, and why is the percentage of debt to GDP a problem?
Because we don't have the money to pay on our bills.
That's not an explanation. Are our bills GDP?
No, GDP is all of the income, all of that comes in, right? It's the gross domestic product. And what we're pointing out is it's an indicator. The fact that our debt is at 98% of all the money that the entire country could bring into itself seems to be a big problem. You don't think so?
GDP is the value of goods and services, right?
Yeah, that is totally produced inside the U.S. Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Right.
Right.
And we're saying it's an indicator. You don't think that that's a bad sign?
No, I think, and think about this. Try to slow down and think about it. Okay, the value of goods and services. People pay taxes on the goods and services they sell, right?
Yes.
So the debt to GDP is a figure, but to me, more important is the debt as a percentage of the revenue that's being brought in, the taxes on the GDP.
Yeah, see, for me, the percentage
it's got to be a lot higher than 98% if it's just in the ratio of taxes then.
Right now, the U.S. debt to GDP ratio, I'm looking at it on Google, is 123%.
Oof. Now the problem I've got, and this is where I see the pain. I understand where you're going with this, Gary. The part that I see is when the portion of our financing the debt, those payments get to a certain percentage, then we have a problem based on our normal budget. And it is going back to, the regular human person, everybody, everyday American type of budget. But when you're financing X amount of your lifestyle, but you don't have the ability to pay for other things. And I think that's where it's the trade-off is it's not an unlimited supply. And if we are at unlimited supply, the government can print more money, but then we're devaluating the currency, which then can increase the amount of debt and the interest payments that we have. For me, it's more a function of the large percentage of the pie. And I believe that we could spend our money better than on interest payments, even though it's going to you and other people that have invested, in part because some of that investment that you have may or may not derive gains that will benefit the economy today, tomorrow, or in the future, depending, again, what we're doing with the bonds and where you're putting that money and what you're doing with some of your investments. So that's part of it as well. That, for me, I look more at it as the portion of the pie, that when that gets too big, it is money that we can spend more efficiently elsewhere. That's where I have it. That's where I get the pushback personally.
You're exactly right, Billy. So if we're right now at 123% of GDP, I'd say our rough average of federal taxes on goods that we pay overall is about 20%. 20% of 123% is 24%. So right now we're paying 24% of our revenues to pay the interest, 24%.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
So, and so if you were bringing in $100,000 a year, Billy, and you were paying $24,000 in interest, would that be a problem for you personally?
Yeah. I mean, personally, it would. Personally, to me, that is too much of a percentage out of my income to just be paying an interest to service my debt. I would look at ways that I can cut either my spending or honestly, and this is the nice part about, personal finances, you can go and refinance depending on when and where, interest rates are and how that changes.
Gary, appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you got to call back and we got to do this again, Gary. Thank you. And have a good Thanksgiving.
I mean, part of, I think what's frustrating to the average person is you get this like complicated financial systems that are all, oh no, debt's fine.
Yeah.
We can bring on 24% of debt's fine because it's 24% of 124% of GDP and all that stuff. And you're just like, nah, the debt just keeps going up, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry if I need to just be the common sense here. And I'm going to go back to Gabe, who texted this in, that when you're in debt, you're slave to the lender. That comes from the Bible. We shouldn't be having this much debt. And you build these complicated financial systems. At the end of the day, it just brings about more debt. I don't like it. All right. I want to talk to you about our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity's lost altogether. Well, I've got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day. And it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. Look, we've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have. But what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to their world-class Dr. Tanya Paul's, it's not maybe will your hair regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Imagine showing up at Christmas, New Year's with a new full head of hair. It would change everything. Give them a call. Advancedhair.com is the website. Phone number 720-459-HAIR. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to a very special Thanksgiving week edition of the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's go to the phone line. Jay Wheatrich. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, guys.
What's on your mind?
So, everything's going up because of Trump, huh? God, that's just terrible. Wrong, but terrible. So, do you remember when Donald Trump was president? I do.
Yeah, it's great.
Yep.
You know what he did? He did a lot, but he didn't get much done because he didn't get any help. He's going to get a lot more help this time and get a lot more done. When he was president, things went down. My money went further. I had more money.
Well, actually, prices did go up.
Memory that you don't remember?
No, Jay, I remember. Prices went up. Prices for steel went up. He put tariffs on steel, and prices for steel went up. And I also remember soybean farmers losing more than $3 billion in economic development because of the tariffs that were enacted by China on the other side. Yes, I do remember that. Absolutely.
In general, the economy was way better. And
It was.
Yeah, the fundamentals don't say that, Jay, though, unfortunately.
Oh, the fundamentals?
Yeah, they don't.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
Well, Billy and I will continue it at the Thanksgiving dinner table.
Yes, we will.
Tomorrow is Pete Boyles and a special Thanksgiving Day parade. Thanks so much for tuning in. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS. Whew, made it.